Good morning.
Mr. Mayor, we're ready when you are.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. This time we're going to call to order the special meeting of June 4th, 2022. Councilmember Morales, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Morales.
Present.
Mayor Velazquez.
Here.
Councilmember Resendez.
Present.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Police Chief Reynoso.
Here.
City Manager Miller.
Here.
City Attorney Lerner. Let the record show that Vice Mayor Perez is absent.
Thank you.
The agenda for the City of Hollister City Council special meeting of June 4th, 2022 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on June 2nd at 9:50 a.m. per Government Code Section 54956.
Thank you very much. Now we're going to move to item A1.
Morning, Mayor and Council. It is a pleasure for me to introduce William Bai, that we would like council to approve a 3-year contract for the position of Community Services Director. The position starting annual salary will start at $173,000 plus benefits. And I'm here for any questions of the council.
Councilmember Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. So first of all, welcome, sir. I'm so happy to see you. Having said that, I just wanted to confirm that it was my understanding that the applicant was going to be vetted, a thorough background was going to be done.
Yep. and
Without getting into specifics, can you confirm that that did in fact occur?
I can confirm that that has been done.
Okay, perfect. And then I saw the contract and I did not see where the city attorneys had signed off on that as well. And I'd like to know if that has occurred and if it would be appropriate and it meets the expectations of our city attorney as well.
So yes, thank you, council member. We have reviewed the contract and it does meet our expectations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll add that because we were going through the transition of attorneys, we also had the attorneys that we use for majority of our HR issues. Is LCW also reviewed it, so it's been
Great.
full review.
Great. I was going to also ask if it would not be inappropriate to just have the gentleman get up and just give us a little bit of his background. I've done some digging a little bit and he seems to have an incredible background from boots on the ground to where he's at now. And I think our community could benefit from this.
Sure, I'm sure he would be
Thank you.
happy to do that.
Good morning, Mayor and City Councilman, the entire City Council. My name is William Vai. I grew up in Los Banos. I actually have a little short background prepared here just for this occasion. I was born in Southern California, but I grew up in Los Banos where I graduated from high school. I spent one semester in college and then I joined the Navy, serving 3 years aboard the USS Carl Vinson, home ported in Alameda as a signalman. After the Navy, I went back to Los Banos, got married and raised 2 daughters. After going through a divorce, I finally went back to school and finished my bachelor's degree in public administration with a minor in sociology. And I continued my education with a master's in public administration and a master's degree in law. I've been employed for the past 5 years with the city of Los Banos as the Public Works Operations Manager. For the past 4 years as the operations manager. And my responsibilities there included the daily operations for water, wastewater, both treatment and collections, street, solid waste, fleet, and the airport. I developed the budget for the operations side of Public Works for the past 3 years, including 18 landscape and lighting districts and capital improvement projects. I'm now remarried to my beautiful wife, Sandra, who accompanied me here today, along with our daughter, Geraldine, and her friend, Ashley. They're up from Southern California. They're going to school down there. And then I look forward to working with the entire city staff, city council, and the residents of Hollister. And I will do my part to make this one of the best communities in the state of California. And I will do so with honesty and integrity. And I'm here to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you, sir. Is there any other questions from council or Mr. Burns? Go ahead.
Sir, can you talk a little bit about your evolution in your career from where you started in public works and the actual boots on the ground work that you've done as well, please?
Sure. I actually started in it's not exactly public works, but I started with Central California Irrigation District as a maintenance worker. Most of my time when I first started with CCID, I spent driving a low bed truck, moving equipment around for the entire district. And I worked my way up to equipment operator running a long reach excavator, dredging canals and things like that. Once I finished my my bachelor's degree, I started with the city of Los Banos as a streets foreman. So I did all of the scheduling and daily routine activities for everything in streets, which included from the back of the sidewalk on one side of the street all the way over to the back of the sidewalk on the other side of the street, including street lights, signs, pavement, curb and gutter, sidewalk, all of those things. After receiving my master's degree, my MPA, I applied for the operations manager position. My predecessor was retiring, and I was promoted to that position that I hold now.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No,
but-
that's okay. I
but,
was ready for it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that as well. And I'm so happy you're here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Resendez.
I just wanted to say if your contract gets approved, congratulations and welcome.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, comments? Go ahead.
I didn't see thank you and welcome. I didn't see the section for the year to year, what those costs are going to be. It showed the total compensation. But then year 2, year 3, is it following UCPI?
It'll be based on the CPI, which is in the contract.
Is there going to be a cap on that? Because right now it's 8.3%.
Sorry, I can't remember on that part. Sorry for the suspense. Do you remember? Homer?
It doesn't look like there's a cap on it, but council could put certain.
Yeah, so yeah, there's not a cap, so council can put a
Cap.
cap on it. The current employees have 3.5%,
Is it 3.5? I thought it was 2.5.
3.5%.
3.5%.
If you want to be equivalent to other,
Yes.
and that's acceptable.
I mean, I don't know if it's appropriate to negotiate up here, but
Right.
So council could actually, if they're after public comment, it comes back to council, you could actually, someone could make a motion to approve it with that cap on it.
Any other questions? Do we have any public comment?
We have no comments.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
So moved with the 3.5% cap.
a second.
The motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes,
All right. Motion carries 4-0. Welcome on board, sir.
thank you.
Thank you.
Would council like when we be sworn in at this time or?
If we get sworn in at this time, why not? No, let them out the door until it's taken care of.
Yeah. He's all dressed up, might as well.
So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, William Pye,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of California,
the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will
and that I will
well and faithfully
well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll now move to item A2.
Thank you again, Mayor. So the HDA has asked to, because this is our budget process, they've asked to speak in front of the council to see if the council will consider a 5-year MOU with them. We can also hear their presentation and go through the budget process. And then if we want to, we can bring this item back today you don't want to make that decision until the final budget. So it's up to you, council.
Thank you.
Mayor Velasquez.
Yes, sir.
I noticed that there's a 5-minute time on this, and I'd like to make a recommendation that we waive that. I mean, if we're talking about potentially approving a $440,000 or so expenditure over a 5-year period, I think that they need to have the adequate time, and I'm not convinced 5 minutes would do that.
I know Omar promised it'd be under 2 minutes.
I can just say yes, and we'll be done right now.
Well, it could be
so-
that simple,
It
but
could be.
I'm not sensing it will be.
This is a little different just because it's a resolution item. So,
Okay, no problem.
yeah. I appreciate it though, Mr. Burns.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for having me today, and thank you for allowing me to do the presentation for the Hollister Downtown Association. So I kind of wanted to just start off with, I handed everybody out our annual report for the interest of the public. I kind of wanted to point out some of the highlights that we've done with the Hollister Association. So if you don't mind, I'll just start here. The 2021 fiscal year saw some old traditions return to our community, a change in leadership, and some much needed new events created in the hopes of further revitalizing our downtown. Due to the ongoing pandemic, all of our usual events were pushed to the second half of the year as we were all waiting for the word from the governor's office as to when the state of California was set to fully reopen with the lift of the stay-at-home order and retirement of the county tier system. We finally got word on June 15th that we would bring an end to the lockdowns and would finally get the opportunity to fully explore what we can do to help Hollister's community and economy rebound. The Hollister Downtown Association made it a priority to our community's recovery with the return of our staple events, the Certified Farmers Market, that return in May, our wine and beer stroll traditionally held every May was hosted in August, the annual street festival and car show was held in September instead of July, and our annual Lights on Parade made its return back to the downtown area after it was held at the airport as a reverse drive-through parade the previous year. Let's see. So let's go ahead and see. So the Lights on celebration, the reverse parade in November 2020 was the first of its kind, and it was a hit. It was the first COVID-safe family activity for the community in over 8 months. We stepped out of the box and created an event that was enjoyed by all ages. The traditional parade returned in 2021 to the downtown area with some of the features from the previous years, such as a giant gingerbread house float, a Polar Express train that had to be the first in our downtown community, and over 10,000 guests were in awe as Santa and Mrs. Claus brought snow to the San Benito Street. Unofficially, the 2021 Lights on Parade brought the largest crowd in its history as people were excited to come back and enjoy this event. In addition to bringing back events, the HDA also focused on assisting downtown businesses to rebuild their customer bases after 2 hard years. Downtown businesses have been hit hard. While consumers were ready to return to normal, our businesses were still not able to fully get back to their pre-pandemic levels of productivity. Businesses struggled to bring back their workforce as many employees chose not to return. To address this, the HDA collaborated with the America's Job Center of San Benito County to help promote the first in-person job fair since 2019, which helped businesses find a local workforce ready to return to work. Many job recruitment events were also held at the farmers market each week from June to September. The Hda Youth Expo is our newest annual event and was started in early 2022. We are proud to partner with the Veterans of Foreign Wars and the American Legion Auxiliary on this much needed first of its kind project. The HDA hosted an event that featured over 55 organizations under one roof, giving these groups the opportunity to showcase the services that they can offer our residents and their children. parents and guardians an opportunity to learn about schedules, fees, and registration times for all these wonderful extracurricular programs. During 2021, the Hollister Downtown Association took a closer look at how the services and events being offered impact the entire community as a whole, whether it's providing safe family events to the community, providing information and services to our local downtown businesses, working with the city Hollister to assist with their projects, or partnering with various organizations to bring new and existing events back to the community, like the oldest parade in Hollister in the annual Saddle Horse Show Parade. The Hollister Downtown Association is evolving to be a more complete community service partner in Hollister. In 2021, the Hollister Downtown Association began to bring back normal, and in 2022, we are looking forward to continuing to build and expand our efforts in order to further improve what normal looks like for the businesses and residents of Hollister. The Hollister Downtown Association is a Main Street American organization. Main Street America has been helping revitalize, I cannot say that word today, older and historic commercial districts for over 40 years. Today, it is a network of more than 1,200 neighborhoods and communities, rural and urban, and who share both commitment to place and building stronger communities through preservation-based economic development. Main Street America is a program of the nonprofit National Main Street Center Incorporated, a subsidiary of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. So these are just some of the statistics for 2020. We don't have the 2021 numbers just yet. The tangible and intangible value of the Main Street, we are civic. These are our 4 core groups that we have: our civic, our physical, economic, and social. So civic is the organization. It brings the community together to build consensus, volunteer, invest, partner, and add resources to the revitalization efforts. Physical works with properties and business owners and participates to enhance downtown's physical appearance while preserving the community, historic identity and character. Economic vitality, work with existing and potential businesses, property owners, and partners to strengthen and grow the local economic base. And our promotion, or social, is work with partners and communities to position downtown as a center for community activity, promote its positive image, and market its unique access. So here's just some of the figures for our 2020 financial summary. So you guys can see at the bottom, we had, our total revenues was $215,448. Our expenses was $261,76. Change in net assets was a loss of $45,628. That was during the pandemic. That's when we also put together the drive-through parade that the HDA invested about $25,000 of its own money to make sure that the event happened. And so we also had a farmer's market that year that we continued having. It was Corey did an amazing job with that, with 7 certified farmers on Saturdays, just to make sure that we had something during the pandemic. We incurred a loss on that as well, but we felt that it was important to give back to the community during these tough times. So those were our numbers and our losses for 2020. 2021 was a little bit better. We weren't fully back into full strength, again, because we had to wait until the second half of the year to have some of our events. Sponsors were still not quite ready to go ahead and I mean, they were amazing, but a lot of them were not able to really help us in that sense. So we did have a change in net assets of $26,000. So we did have a plus. And again, the HDA invested about $10,000 to $15,000 in the Lights On Parade for the snow and other activities that we did, again, just to make it more of a real main event as in the city of Hollister. So some of the events that we've hosted, we have the Youth Expo, which again was a free event for all participants, both the organizations that were there and the guests that came in. We had over 600 guests that attended that expo. What was really neat about the expo was that we had an opportunity where the organizations themselves were able to network with amongst themselves and kind of get some feedback and ideas on what they were doing. So for so long, these groups have kind of done their own thing, and this was a chance for them to really have a conversation and speak to each other. I have just a little side note. We had a gentleman who hosts one of the football things, and he was expressing to me that his son was not really into football, but he was a coach. And he was looking around, his son was looking around, and he saw the stage company was out there. And so son went over to the stage company and they had a conversation. And before you know it, the kid wants to know all the auditions so that he found his passion during the Youth Expo. So those little things that really, I think, have helped. So we hope to have this every single year at Veterans Building. We've already committed to a date in March. So we are really looking forward to bringing this event and having more organizations participate. There are over 70. We had 55. So we had a great turnout for our first year. The Downtown Wine and Beer Stroll, that was our premium event. We had that back in May. We had over 625 guests attend that event. This event is unique in itself because we just had a brand new business, VIP Styles Boutique. They just opened up in March. They're on 5th Street. They became a participant in the event, not really knowing the expectations of it, but she had over 400 guests come in through her store and check it out. After just a month or two of being open, she had an opportunity to really market herself and have these people come in and go, oh, wow, this is here now. And so that's what these events bring. Our 34th annual street festival, we'll have one coming up on July 16th, our 35th actually. Our Lights On celebration that's hosted in November every year with Mr. and Mrs. Claus. The farmers market that started in May will end in September, and we are looking to bring back our mini job fairs again at the farmers market, hopefully starting at the end of this month and into the end of the season, because again, a lot of companies are still struggling to find people, so we're trying to do everything we can, and we don't charge any of these businesses to participate in that event so that they can promote and try to get as many people as they can to hopefully apply for their positions. And of course, are working close in hand with City Hollister's rec department, the City Hollister with the and all the other organizations that have been a huge component to this for the Hollister 150-year celebration. So we've been a part of these meetings, I think since an inception. Jan, John, and Jen from the chamber were a huge part of this. We've continued with that. We're working closely with Tina, Daisy, and the chamber and all the other groups that are, I mean, there's so many, can't even, YMCA, Arts Council, so many groups. It's kind of neat because this is the one event where we're having so many groups participate for this event. This is a milestone. It's a huge thing. So it's good to be a part of this, and it's good to be collaborating with all the other partners for something like this. Here are some of our community partners that we've worked with in the past, and there are many more that we like to add to this list as well. We just recently had a conversation with the Salvation Army, and they are looking or are trying to build a shelter, a women's battered shelter for women who are fleeing domestic violence. They has a lot of families that have come over and asked for a place to stay because the male's house is sometimes full. We connected them with the Community Services and Workforce Development Group over at the San Benito County. And their group is now talking to them about somehow bringing in either some transitional homes or RVs, something where they just have to pay the relocation costs for this so they can have this at the Salvation Army to offer shelter for a population that we're not really focusing too much on right now. And so there's been so many families that have been coming, but they can't go to the shelter because they have children with them. So that's just a connection that we did, and hoping that brings something good to the city. And then our board of directors, we have myself, Chuck Frowine is our vice president, Alexander Bronson from Amazon, Kumar, who just joined us well, Tom Valerius, who's present here with us, Joe Escada, Gordon Machado, Daniel Rack, and Michelle Tartala. And then our staff is myself, Terry Escamilla, who we can't have any of these events without Terry. She's been our rock. Jennifer Diaz, who keeps us online. She's present today too. Stacy, who helps us with all our e-blasts and anything that has to do with the websites and things of that nature. Bree, our farmers market manager. And of course, we couldn't do any of this without the leadership and guidance of Brett Miller, our city manager, who's been really great in just picking up the phone whenever we need something or showing up to one of our meetings and just kind of giving us something that we can kind of focus and see what we can do for the city as well. So any projects, town halls, things that are coming up, how can we be a participant with that? How can we assist with that? And that's part of the contract that we have with the city, is that we are advocates, we are collaborators, and we are partners for the city of Hollister. Those are all my notes there. So was it under 5 or was it over 5?
Thank you, sir. Is there any questions from council? Comments? Go ahead, Councilman Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm very supportive of HDA, and I appreciate all the work that you've done, and I am supportive. However, I do have some questions. And ultimately, I'm not supportive of moving forward today with actually authorizing the budget allocation, but no, I know you have my support. I just need a little more data. So I'm wondering, as a nonprofit, when was the last time your books were audited, and what did that show or reveal? Or I don't know that you're obligated to answer that for me, but
I don't have that information for you right now, Mr. Burns. We do have a certified public accountant who does that for us, and we can give you all our numbers if you like that for a future.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that would be helpful. I mean, and part of the reason I ask is I know we're just coming out of COVID and you showed a budget negative last year, or the year before and a slight profit this year, as
Right.
I recall.
Mhm.
And so those are small numbers and I recognize that, but I think it would be helpful for me to maybe see the 3 years of profit and loss for the 3 years prior to COVID to just get a sense of the stability. I believe that HDA is a stable organization,
Right.
but to eventually potentially award up to almost $500,000, I think for me to do my due diligence, I'd like to see those numbers if possible.
Mhm.
I'm also curious, I noticed in reviewing the packet that was provided to council prior to the meeting, there was a comment and it's in the packet that there's discussion about other funding streams and sources. And if you could speak to that a little bit and what the commitment is to continue in that path forward as well, please.
Right. So we recognize that we can't always be fully reliant with the city of Hollister. We love to continue having a partnership, whether that amount is the amount that we're projecting here or something else. But we're also trying to see if we can apply for grants. We are a national Main Street program, so there's opportunities there for us to apply for grants. There's also an opportunity to work collaboratively with the city as a nonprofit to be able to be the facilitator to bring in other type of grants that may apply for the city as well and be the facilitator for that. There are other programs out there. So there are different things that we need to do. So we are investing in trying to do grant writing and other things of that nature to recognize and locate and apply for these grants as well. So that now, again, we're not fully 100% reliant on the city of Hollister, but that we are finding a way to do things on our own. We're also looking to do more programs or more events as we go along, more premium events as well. That brings us just a bit more money. But the majority of the events that we do, as you saw, they're all free events for the public that we are trying to do. And to your point, in 2020, we didn't have any events. We had canceled every single one of our events, which is why we took the loss. And then we decided to do the Lights On Parade because nothing else was happening. Everybody was shut down and we just couldn't let the community just not have anything. Hence why we did the Lights On at the airport. But I understand we we can't provide you with the other information. So those are the things that we're working on right now.
Okay, thanks. I guess the final question or comment I have is it would be good, and perhaps it's in the report and maybe I've just overlooked it or don't recall, but I always think with nonprofits, for me, it's important to know what percentage of the budget is allocated for administrative overhead. And so for me, I'd like to know that as well.
Okay.
And so thank you for your response. I don't need answers to any of these now,
Mhm.
but my recommendation moving forward would be to defer until maybe the next council meeting after Mondays
Mhm.
to finalize this once we have a better opportunity to look at the overall city budget as well. Thank
Understood.
you, though. Great presentation.
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Yeah, real quick on funding, just so for the council, the county held a tourism kind of a meeting for the chamber, HDA and other organizations. They're exploring like a T-bid, which is a tourism ability to charge extra fees to help support the different organizations. So that might be something in the near future also.
Sorry, and I forgot to add too. Thank you so much, Brett, for kind of mentioning tourism. We are working with the associations at Gilroy and Morgan Hill in creating a website. It's going to be a regional website, so we can try to do something where we have like a wine trail or a brewery trail. And then as they click on each city's website, it will direct them either to the city of Hollister's website or to the own HDA website to kind of showcase other things that are happening so that we're not exactly Gilroy, we're not exactly Morgan Hill, but we do have some commonality. And so we're trying to drive some of the day trippers, instead of going up to Napa, they can come down to this stream of the area since we have so many things in common. So that's another project we're working on.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments? Councilmember Morales?
Yes, thank you, Omar, for the great presentation and for the support I think that you've provided City Council. I'm not comfortable with the 5-year. And I also like to see more of a breakdown. So I know that the recommended budget states 75,000. I'd like to see how that, whatever amount that is approved, how that money is being utilized. And then I also noticed that in the community, we have several organizations that do similar work. If the city does contribute funds, I'd like to know the base and then how money or relationships are leveraged for the common goal. For example, whether consolidated of social media, advertisement, whether it's the creation of materials. So there's a lot of things that are duplicated
Mhm.
with various organizations. If the city, or at least if I approve anything, I like to see base amount, leveraged amount, and then what's in it for the city. How does this help the city meet our mission and goals and the community response associated with the activities that we're sponsoring? So that if our community, and so you need to have the ability to do that. And that means whether you do surveys or whatever, but there needs to be some mechanism of feedback. If our community says this is not something that we want, I don't want to fund it. And if our community is saying we need something, or businesses are saying we need X, Y, Z, then that's what I want to focus on. So that's how I like to see either a report back or the request comes in, that comes in.
Thank you, Mr. Perez.
Good presentation. Sorry about being late, everybody. I did have a funeral to go to. And I don't know if I can say that now, but I'd like to close in honor of John Barrett and Swan. Oh, okay, well, it's Monday night. Yeah. Anyways, HDA, love you guys. It's been an honor and it's a pleasure to work with you guys with Chamber and all the other numerous volunteers. I think we're asking for a little bit more details. Great organization, doing great things for the city. But yeah, when it comes back, a little bit more detail. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Sanders.
Thank you. I just want to say that none of us could have predicted that we would be entering a pandemic, and the Hollister Downtown Association was the very first organization to pivot and be flexible and to partner with our city to ensure that we continue some traditions here. And it's seen all throughout the community. And like you said, a lot of the events are free. I did see some of your data. I know it's hard to provide more metrics. I think that some of the things that are asking for are very reasonable, like the past 3 years budget, but I'm sure you've presented that at the last meetings, your admin overhead. I'm wondering about the grants though. Have you been successful in doing grants in the past? Aside, I think everybody here goes to the community foundation. And do you have a grant writer lined up for you guys? What's your plan moving forward, and what was it in the past?
So we don't have a grant writer present right now. We did apply for several grants. Like actually, Jennifer, Jen Diaz here applied for several grants last year. Was any of them with the community foundation? 2 of them with the community foundation. Yeah. So, but to your point, we recognize that we need to do and find a grant writer. So we actually have 2 plans going ahead. We have a internship program where we're going to go and solicit the students at a local community, or not a community college, but a college that can look and see, because they need the experience to be able to write these grants. So we're going to look for that. And we're also going to be investing in staff to get grant writing lessons and classes as well, so that we can go out, identify, locate, and apply for the grants as well. So I think the biggest challenge sometimes is there's so many out there, like which one fits what we are and what we need to be. And so I think that's part of it. And of course, putting together something and submitting that in. So those are our 2 plans right now for grant writing.
So I like that you guys have a goal to be a little bit more independent moving forward. And we all know that we came from a pandemic and it's hard to do now. You know, you mentioned it with your sponsors, but how many years have you been partnering with the city of Hollister, the Downtown Association?
We've been partnering since, I think it's been 6 years now since I've been with the HDA.
Yeah, but in total,
Oh, in
how
total,
long?
like how many, 35, 36 years.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. And I just want to say that from my time being on here, from my experience, from working with, you guys, the chamber, the EDC, and with our rec department, I think that you guys have done an outstanding job. We're very grateful for everything that you do. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing this come back and continuing our partnership with you.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank you first. You've done a great job, and I'm proud of what the HCA has come back to being. I was not happy for several years for a while, and you know that I expressed my frustrations. I was the former president of HCA back in the early 2000s, and the key was making sure local businesses were involved. So we really made those efforts, those drives to get the memberships, not so much for the money, but for their involvement.
Right.
And that's what made the difference back then. And I can remember working with different consultants to help plan for a downtown. And I always tell the story about trying to get outdoor dining with working with the consultants, and they said this would be a great thing for your community, but we know it took years and a pandemic to
pandemic,
finally
yeah.
make that happen, which is a crazy story in itself. But where I want to make sure we're clear on this, because I never want to see this happen again. Where it went wrong is when it became sort of a political organization.
Right.
And the focus was on politics. And it got away of the true focus and mission of the Downtown Association, was to promote the city of Hollister by providing activities or providing services to local businesses. By transferring back, you guys have shown the success of that, working with the rec department especially. And that's what the organization is. Really, it's an arm of the city. Doing it well, partnering, you create that feeling for the community that we have this Americana type of town.
Right.
It's a beautiful place to live, but if people don't know things are happening, they don't come out.
Mhm.
And we have a lot of new residents. I had one the other day asking about there's nothing to do, and my kid wants to be in drama, wants to do things. I said, oh, there's a lot to do. And matter of fact, I think I forwarded the number to Mr. Resendez. I said, there's this program, there's that program, on and on and on. You guys showcased it by your event. And this is what we need to make sure we're doing. So what I'm trying to say is, let's make sure we stay focused on the success you're having and you're building, because that's where the momentum comes from. I want to make sure we're not kind of straying off too far and creating plans that can be great in the long run down the road, but they're not going to bring what we need first here.
Right.
We start from the inside and we start growing out and get that full momentum. So my view has always been with the Downtown Association, as many events as possible. And if that's what your goal is, then the city could be helping with some of those events as you get that footing to make sure you're making revenue from the events in the future.
Right.
So how do we get events happening every single weekend? So families are in the downtown listening to music, or going to the farmer's market as you're doing, or some of the other events. Again, that's what's going to drive the eventual foot traffic or the tourism, is when people start hearing about it. And that's what's always driven some of that tourism. So we don't want to lose focus of it. I want to make sure we're perfectly clear. Never, ever again delve into politics.
Right.
That was just a disaster. We lost complete focus on that. And those were those years that we saw the Downtown Association losing its reputation. I think it's back stronger than ever. And I agree with my colleagues. This is really something we're going to have to talk about as we go through our budget.
Mhm.
But I just want you to know, I'm for you as you guys keep doing this. And I'm very proud of your leadership. And of course, Terry's endless
Yes.
commitment to our community.
Yes.
So tell her I said hi. So
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. And I just wanted to make a note. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for saying that. We recognized, years ago that we cannot waddle in those waters. So we have been trying to be very much just what we are and what we're good at, which is bringing events to downtown. And there was a comment made by, I think, somebody in the council just a moment ago about, are we listening to our businesses? One of the main complaints that we had about our farmers market was that it was in downtown and it created issues. So we kind of shifted that. Corey made a new plan. We shifted it over to 6th Street. We had an opportunity to maybe look it back and go back to it. And we said no, because this is what was keeping our customers happy, our business customers. So we took a hit in our farmers market, but we're happy to take that hit because this allows the businesses to fully have their spaces back as they need to. And we kind of focus in an area that, it's not ideal for some of the business there, but, we're working with them. We're working with Heavenly Bakery, providing them a spot where they don't have to pay because they're right there in the corner. So we made that. We were well aware of it. And again, listening to what our businesses and our customers are saying to us, so that, well, it may not be great in the long run for us. Sometimes it's the best that we can make that connection and have that collaboration with those partners. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards?
There are no speakers.
Thank you. Is there a motion on this item, or is there a motion to table or
Um,
withdraw?
Yeah, just probably withdraw the item and then we'll bring it back.
I'll move to withdraw.
There's a motion to withdraw.
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. We're going to now move to item 3, A3.
Thank you again. So kind of the same thing. This one wasn't presented as a resolution, but the chamber would also, as this is our budget time, they would also like to talk about their accomplishments and also how the city can help them also.
So we're ready. All right. Good morning, City Council. Thank you for having us here today and for being open to hearing a presentation. So today, I'm just going to be delivering a presentation on the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce Foundation, give a little bit of background on that. I know for some of us, it's fairly new to attach the foundation to some of the work that we have been doing. But I'll just kind of get into the presentation. My name is Eduardo Navarro. I'm the Executive Director for the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce Foundation. We are the 501c3 nonprofit arm of the San Benito County Chamber of Commerce. So a lot of our work is focused on community impact programs. We are fully bifurcated for all intents and purposes. We are very independent organizations. We are, again, the 501c3 arm. And it's separate from the 501c6, which is the chamber. We have our own sets of bylaws, our own sets of board of directors and staff. We do have our own budget. So here you have a little bit of the team. It's myself. I have a part-time events coordinator, Felicia Bisteglia, and Adriana Zoglami, who's a part-time marketing specialist. I do work very in tandem with obviously the Chamber of Commerce and the CEO, Michelle Leonard. A lot of our work is in tandem for a lot of business advocacy, tourism initiatives, and economic development initiatives that we do have in the community. We do have a board of directors, 6 of them. We have Terea Sebas from the Harco School District, Maria Sid, who's our vice chair from Farmers Insurance, Lisa Salud, Michelle Leonard, Stephanie Hicks, and Alexander Bronson. So you'll see that Michelle Leonard is a board director. And so in an effort to create a systems of checks and balances and transparency, we did have we have structured the organizations where she sits on my board to make sure that our organizations are in alignment. And similarly, I sit on her board as a board director to make sure that, again, both of them are in alignment in all the work that we do as a chamber and a chamber foundation. So that's just a way for us to make sure that we are always in alignment, making sure that our programs are kind of key and driven there. Our mission is organized for the purpose of creating and promoting and celebrating the economic vitality of San Benito County and providing resources to businesses and individuals in all organizations. In our per our MOU that we have both with the city and the county, we do have a tourism strategy. So the tourism strategy is a comprehensive strategy that encompasses a dynamic array of identified key markers to promote San Benito County and its many industries as a whole. So those markers are heavily focused in strong digital marketing, print media, community impact programs and events, regional representation, and collaboration. So each marker has a unique set of metrics, both qualitative and quantitative, to assess success and impact as shown in the following slide. So just to kind of preface everything that we do, we are very big on numbers and we're very data-driven, so statistics and metrics. We do want to ensure that we have a return of investment for everything that we do, but also that it's always tied back to economic development, tourism for all of our programs. So it's not just a family-friendly and community-driven event, but also it's going to have some sort of larger kind of strategic holistic goal for the city and the county. A little bit about our reach and our network, just some kind of stats out there. One of the key areas that we are very proud of being able to have achieved. We do have a very strong marketing presence. We have about over 15,000 Facebook audience, over 5,000 Instagram audience, and a newsletter audience of over 7,000 subscribers. So our marketing is very broad. It's not just centralized and focused in San Benito County, but it's also expansive beyond that. We work very strategically with a lot of our partners over in South County, Los Baños, Salinas area, of course, and just in the network of chambers as well. So we have a very expansive reach there. And of course, with all of our business industries here in San Benito County as a whole. We're very proud of that. There's a little bit of some of the pages and groups that we do manage. Obviously, in an effort to kind of just be more innovative and dynamic, we've scheduled everything as a QR code as well. So everything is accessible in almost any possible potential way that you can think of. So we do have that. Those are just some of the different mediums that we do manage. Some of our branding, Savor San Benito, Discover San Benito, and of course the Chamber and the Chamber Foundation is some of our programs and our initiatives. We do have some statistics here for website engagement for the Chamber. You will see basically that we have a very steady set of average page views per month. Not only that though, but we have a lot of returning and new page views for our Savor San Benito and San Benito County Chamber.com. We can actually track exactly where the clicks are going. We can track the information that is being solicited and required and requested. So one of the things that for us as an organization, super interesting is that not only do we have a platform like Savor San Benito, which very much came about during the pandemic, and I'll kind of get into that in a little bit more later, that we have a lot of returning customers, meaning that it's a platform that is being utilized as we leverage our food, beverage, and industries here in the county throughout. People are constantly wanting to know more, and it's a platform for everybody to access. Again, I'll kind of get into that a little bit, but as you can see, we do have a very high rate of new visitors coming into something like Savor San Benito, but also a constant returning to continue utilizing the services and information provided there. I do have Discover San Benito County in progress, and I will mention that a little bit further down in the presentation. Some of the partners and collaborations that are listed here that we're very proud to work with. We obviously, as a community-based organization, work with a lot of folks and communities and organizations throughout. These are just kind of a handful. One of the city of Hollister, of course, being one of them, San Benito County, San Juan, HDA, the Business Council, et cetera, et cetera. One of the more recent partnerships we're very excited to have just kind of started a couple of months ago in conversations with First Five San Benito, the Family Impact Center, and the Resiliency Network. So the Resiliency Network is kind of a collaborative with many community-based organizations throughout the county. A lot of it is focused on youth and family services, behavioral health, housing elements and stuff like that, food security programs. But one of the areas that was highly missing was kind of the economic development, tourism, and business advocacy side of things. We are the first organization to join that collaborative and the only organization that is focused on, again, business advocacy and economic development to be able to bridge the gap between our family services, family and youth services, career development, and then business advocacy. How can we all kind of collaborate, merge that, and move forward to make a very holistic community kind of wellness model, right? So just a little bit on that there. Some of the membership and representation. So these are just some of the standing committees that we are a part of as community and key stakeholders. One of them is the Central Coast Tourism Council. So the Central Coast Tourism Council is a collaborative ranging from Ventura County to South Santa Clara County. So it's a huge regional collaborative, and basically every county has up to 4 representatives. For San Benito County, there are only 2. Those are myself and Michelle Leonard from the chamber. But more so, not only are we representatives and members of that collaborative, we are actually board directors. Michelle has been a board director for a couple of years. And as of this year, I am now a newly appointed board member for this collaborative. And what this does, it leverages a lot of tourism dollars into the region. So San Benito County specifically, but also a lot of advocacy for what could be coming down from the state and neighboring communities. So that's something that we're really excited about, to be able to just continue this kind of advocacy and representation to put City of Hollister, San Benito County, and its affiliates on the map. We are part of the San Benito County Standing Committee for Economic Development. So the chamber is a key stakeholder on that. We do meet on a monthly basis. Just started again more with the county there, but a little bit more information to come soon on that. And then we do have a quarterly tourism committee that we hold with the City of Hollister, San Benito County representatives, and some community stakeholders as well from the different areas and industries that we do hold here. In that tourism committee, we do discuss and strategize on events that are going to be revenue generating. They're going to bring in and coalesce the different partners and organizations that we do have in San Benito County and Hollister, San Juan, et cetera, to make sure that we have not only good, successful events, but like I said before, that are data driven, that the numbers are good on the economic front, on the demographic front, who are our people that we're bringing in, et cetera, et cetera. I will talk a little bit about that with some of our other events here. Some of our community impact programs. So one of the areas, because we are kind of a business advocacy and economic development organization, we do recognize that there is a slight equitable issue with our Spanish-speaking demographic. So we did start Chamber Cafecito, which is a monthly series showcasing community stakeholders and businesses and organizations in the community. Typically, we invite 2 guests and we have a informal kind of conversation to get a more sense of who they are, what they do, and why they do it. It is completely bilingual. It is live streamed, available on our website, YouTube, et cetera. We've got a lot of great response from that, not only just from the business community, but from the community as well, specifically our Spanish-speaking population, who for a long time have maybe felt a little bit more marginalized or just had been wanting something more, right? So it's a great way to kind of showcase that a little bit more and just really kind of feature some of the businesses and great organizations that we do have here in the city. We were part of the micro grant business program with the city, with the county this year. Last year as well with COVID, we did disperse over $1 million back into businesses. This year was a lot smaller amount, but we did partner with the county to do that. We also partnered with the elections department to hold their Voters Choice Act celebration, the VCA. As we all know, it's voting season, so a lot of that effort was to expand and make voting a lot easier.
Okay, that was 5 minutes pretty quick, huh? Okay. You want to go ahead and start wrapping up?
Oh,
Senator
yeah.
Navarro?
Yes. Gonna kind of go through some of the other ones and to be kind of quickly here.
Thank you, sir.
This is some of the print marketing that we did mention to, again, put a lot of Hollister and city representation on the map. The 2020 Yosemite National Park for 2022 as well. The Central Coast, over 100,000 copies. Location, over 500,000 copies. A lot of these are initiatives that we take upon ourselves to make sure that we are representing the city of Hollister, San Benito County. Some of our tourism and economic development efforts, these are just some of the handful of businesses that we've worked with to bring in with permitting and expansion and resources. Just recently, we obviously had Technova, Gilroy Estridge Farms wanting to expand into Hollister and San Benito County. Tons and tons of opportunities there. These are some of our materials that we have created in response to this kind of economic development model. How can we really leverage what we have here? So we have obviously featuring like Hollister Hills, downtown Hollister, the airport, et cetera, et cetera. They are available upon request. I know the county has been very excited to be able to disseminate that information. We are working with a lot of organizations as well. We are organizing the 150-year gala for the city of Hollister. More information on that's going to be coming forth probably in the next week or so with ticket sales and just kind of the program. We do have probably the event that's been keeping us the most busy, Savor San Benito. I did mention this event came across. Basically, it started with savorsanbenito.com and during the pandemic to be able to give businesses an opportunity to leverage, their services and showcase them. But this is kind of the community front physical event that people can actually attend. We are partnering with local vendors throughout the county. We're bringing entertainment. It's going to be held at Swing Farms tomorrow. So we've been very, very busy doing that. But it's been a lot of community partnerships, and we're very excited to see that. I did mention obviously our reach, and we are very kind of strategic and target, and we do a lot of targeted marketing. Our average post for this event, for example, I'm sharing some of the statistics on the TV here, is about a little bit over 84,000. Engagements include likes, shares, comments, etc. I can count the messages I get on just social media. I got a call the other day from Florida because our ads are reaching people. So we know they work. We know it's bringing people to the county and to the city. And we want to be more strategic to leverage these kinds of events. Not only that though, but with our events, we always do data tracking and metrics. So for tomorrow, for example, we have systems in place to be able to track zip codes, to track demographics and see exactly where they're visiting from, how did they hear it. We can see that obviously on our ads as well. So we'll have a lot of data to report on that shortly after, I hope. I'm just going to kind of whiz through some of these because I know it's the interest of time. We are a visitor center. We do work with the businesses to offer relocation packages for workforce development, for example. Just recently, we have worked with a local family and a refugee from Ukraine. We did partner with Edward Boss Prado Foundation from South County and Morgan Hill to deliver supplies to the Ukraine refugee system. This is kind of the savorsanbenito.com website that I mentioned. We did just launch a new customizable widget that you can create a visitor's experience on with all of the businesses that we have here throughout the county. You see what they are there, 94 restaurants, 29 wineries, etc. You can definitely do that. It's fully scalable. I'm not going to play the video. Discover San Benito, that was the in progress part that I mentioned last time. So about 3 years ago, there was an effort to kind of create this kind of gateway and pathway into San Benito County. It's since been kind of just left there. We are pursuing a grant funding to be able to bring that back up just in the same way like Visit Gilroy, Visit Morgan Hill are the pathways into those communities. We want this to be that as well. It's going to feature hotels, lodging, the attractions, it's going to be linked with Savor San Benito. So it's going to have all of our wineries, all of our food and beverage and downtown businesses, etc. So lots of lodging and information there. And then I'm going to wrap it up because I know we're running through. Pinnacles National Park partnership there with a lot of events. We do have some meetings coming up with some of the film industry folks to be able to leverage some stuff here. We have our Pathways Empowerment Program, which does a lot of career force development, scholarships, and program development for our youth. So being able to bridge that gap, we just held our scholarship reception night a couple of weeks ago. We've launched this in about 2 years. We've been able to put about over $40,000 back into students, but also leveraging internships and some of the business community partnerships there. And then last slide, I promise. Our funding and our budget, just a little bit of a snapshot of where we're at now. We do have an MOU with the city and the county. One of the areas that, like many other organizations, we are looking to diversify our funding. That's in a couple of different ways. Our events need to be revenue generating. So that's one of the areas that obviously we're trying to make sure that we're taking back what we're investing to be able to put it back into tourism and economic development programs. We do have our scholarship program has seen an outpour, so that we've been really blessed in that situation. But with our unrestricted funding is really where we want to kind of build capacity. So capacity grants, for example, I am a grant writer and a fund development specialist. So I do have some time allocated to that, but just building up capacity and leveraging that a little bit more. And then our marketing, continuing with that. We know our marketing works. So we definitely want to continue investing in that. I do have a part-time specialist that I'd like to bring on more to the team. Again, grant writing and fund development in general to make sure that that's part of the strategy. That's a little bit of our snapshot.
Thank you, Councilmember Sendes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for presenting. Sounds like you do a lot. Sounds like it.
Thank you.
Let's see, 15,000 Facebook audience. I just looked at your Facebook. I only saw 649.
So I don't know if you saw, I could go back to the slide. Well, that's fine. It's groups and pages and all together. So it's Discover San Benito, Savor San Benito, our Facebook page, of course, and all of the different groups. So we have like Savor San Benito Pickup. We have I Love Hollister. All of those collectively, it adds up to that. And
so it's not really 15,000. It's just collectively, you've got 15,000 in total people that are following your pages.
Yeah, and we can do a breakdown of that of if you'd like. I can definitely provide that.
Okay, and then your Instagram, I would imagine it's the same thing. You said 5,300. Sounds very impressive, but I just looked and it's only 470.
Savor, Discover, and Chamber, a couple thousand each for our Instagram specifically. Savor San Benito, yeah, and Discover. And I can bring that breakdown too. I have no problem.
You probably might want to go back and check that because I just looked right now. What's the difference between the conference and the foundation?
So organizationally speaking,
just what can they do? What are they supposed to do? And then what are you going to do? Or what are you supposed to do? What can you do?
So the Chamber of Commerce is a membership driven organization. So for the longest time, one of the kind of biggest issues or feedback that we got, it was that, it's only advocating to members. And we definitely don't do that. So one of the areas that we wanted to see, how can we separate our membership from everything else that we do in the community that does benefit non-members as well? That's where the foundation comes in as a 501c3. We're not politically active. We don't, cater exclusively to membership or anything like that. So that's why you see like Savor San Benito, Pinnacles, all community-wide events, regardless of membership. We don't care about that. We don't ask about that. That's definitely more on the membership side of the Chamber of Commerce itself. They'll do obviously like their mixers and their ribbon cuttings and stuff like that. Very different from us. We don't really, we'll be involved.
So foundation is a 501c3.
Correct.
Not politically active.
Correct.
Commerce is a 501c4.
6, I believe.
And they are allowed to be politically active.
Organizationally, chambers are allowed to be active, politically active. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about that because I saw that Michelle posted something on Facebook the other day and she said, we're not allowed to be politically active, but this is who I'm supporting and this is why you should support that person. So, and I do remember when Michelle was working at the Arts Council, I walked by and she had several endorsement stickers and flyers on her desk at the time in the windows. That was a 501c3. And I brought it up to them because it's very concerning. So I just think we should probably go back to what the mayor said. We had lots of problems before with organizations that we're funding that were meddling a little too much in politics, in my opinion. It's not good. I think you guys should stay focused. So I really appreciate that. The HDA did turn it around, and I hope that you guys can do the same. Lots of collaborating. So I appreciate that. But what tangibles have you delivered or have you done on your own? What are you responsible for? So let's say the HDA, they do the lights on celebration. They do all of these things on their own. They've done it successfully for years and years, but what have you done on your own?
So
solely.
It's kind of interesting to ask that because the foundation for a while was kind of lumped under the Chamber of Commerce. So a lot of it was basically a bifurcation of the events that just kind of went over to the foundation. I think to say what we've done alone, it's hard because the foundation has just kind of kicked off in the last recent year or so. So there's not a track record under the foundation umbrella, but under the chamber umbrella that has still been part of that foundation. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. It is complicated. It's kind of crazy, but so we have done a lot of community initiative programs. As you remember, we were very key in the Parklet program.
So what have you done on your own?
What we're currently doing now, Savor San Benito, Pinnacles National Park Adventure Run in partnership with Pinnacles National Park. Those are our two main programs. We have done Chamber Cafecito. I can go back to the slide of all of our community impact programs that we've done as of now. And we've also hosted forums, of course. We've done the elections department of ECA that was kicked back off in a couple of months ago, back in April, I believe. So a lot of community programs and collaborations. We could say we do it alone, but I don't believe in the spirit of doing it alone because we are very collaboration driven. We want to make sure that we're kind of leveraging everything that we can to make sure that we have kind of a huge return on investment and success for a different with a lot of different programs and outreach that we do. So we could potentially do like something like Chamber Cafecito. You could consider as an alone, kind of event. But I think we are definitely driving towards the spirit of more collaboration. Just the other day, I was talking to EDC, for example, of doing some features on like our Hollister Airport. How can we bring that together? I think we've learned as separate organizations that alone it's a lot harder, especially when we're very kind of invested in like tourism, economic development, workforce development. I think together we're a lot stronger. So a little bit of a loaded question to say what we've done alone. I don't want to say, well, this and that, and then not give kind of homage to everything else that we have done that we're very
Who
proud of
does the
doing.
Cafecito? Is it the foundation or the
Mhm.
conference?
The foundation.
The foundation, the 501c3.
Mhm.
And you hosted a councilwoman on there?
Mhm.
Did you invite all the other council members?
It's not like an invitation or kind of like we pick and choose. It was
Mhm.
just kind of a community. We do kind of have like a process for it for community input and stuff like that.
What was the
just
process that you chose one specific council member over the others?
nothing like super crazy or anything like that. It's not a preference thing, if that's what the question is alluding to. Not a preference thing, and it wasn't political as well. So if you notice, and I can show you the emails that we do,
Sure.
it's like we make sure that it can be political despite of your status or anything like that, or your endorsements or whatever, because it is obviously a political season. We don't talk about that. So if you actually go through the recording, the 45-minute recording, no political innuendos or anything is referred to.
Okay.
Just
You
to-
said
to
you're
be clear.
responsible for tourism dollars bringing in. What tourism dollars have you brought in?
So this is a long-standing conversation that we've been having with the city and the county. We were key with the terrorism symposium that came about in a couple of months ago. And we have been trying to strategize with the county to see how we can bring in TOT dollars. We do have metrics to be able to track that. In talking with like our city manager and stuff like that, it has been determined that it wasn't a significant amount of TOT dollars to be able to go back to like a chamber to fund some of these programs, for example, just because of the powers that be.
So specifically, what tourism dollars have you brought in?
Again, that's a little bit of a loaded question, I think, because I don't know if I can say
It was in your presentation, so I'm just wondering what tourism dollars did you guys bring
Well,
in?
we're not looking at the specific tourism dollars, and I could definitely try to come up with the quantifiable, amount on that.
Sure.
Our presentation definitely had tourism strategy, which is the overall holistic kind of approach to what we do.
Yeah.
But we can come back with some more concrete numbers. I believe actually we probably could come something up within our collaborations and our conversations with City Manager Brett Miller, for example, because we've definitely looked at tracking that, instituting like a T bid or an H bid, for example, something that we've been advocating for a while. Looks like it's getting a little bit of traction from the county, but more to come on that. Those are.
If you guys are a county organization, how come the city of Hollister is giving more money than the county?
Good question. I'd love to discuss that more with the county as well.
Did they
But-
lower the money that they gave you recently?
No, it's been a standing MOU with the county. As to why they gave more, the original intent for the MOU was to be a matched outcome. I think at the time, I mean, this was prior to me, so don't have a lot of that history there, unfortunately. I think it was just like a general fund issue, so they were only able to allocate the $35,750 that we have, and that's what we're currently at. Right
So
now.
I think Councilmember Morales brought up some good point about the overlap, and I do see quite a bit of overlap. with your organization specifically. And I think it would be good for all of you to sit down at the table and to maybe clarify what your roles are, who's going to be strong in one area, who can be strong in another, and partner with your partnerships here, because we're all in this together. We should be focused on how to help revitalize downtown, how to bring more economy, bring more business, generate more revenue. These are the things that we are counting on you guys to do. And we need you guys to do that. Last time Michelle was here, I think we heard a lot of the same things that you're saying today. I'm sad to see that she's not here presenting. And we asked for a lot of the same things that I feel like we should ask for today. What are the tangibles? Where are the metrics? Where's the proof that we're getting return on our dollars, so to speak? And that's what concerns me. And then my last question is, when does your contract expire?
I believe next year, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Perez.
Thank you for your presentation. You know what, I go to the meetings. I see you guys. I've been slacking a little bit lately, off and on. I see what you guys do. Thank you. You know what? How big, can you just touch on Pinnacles? How huge is that for our city, our county, and our state? How huge is that?
It's huge. Even with this adventure run, they've never been able to do that. So when we talked about this partnership with the superintendent, it was a huge deal to be able to put even San Benito County as a whole on the map. We leveraged it on a national platform with parks like Yosemite National Park, Joshua Tree, for example. Pinnacles was never on those listings, never on those maps. With something like this and the collaborative and kind of partnership that we've established, we've been able to leverage that. I did have some statistics on the thing. I just kind of went through them a little bit faster, but in terms of our reach and our engagement, it's been really well received. We're actually waiting to get a report with from Pinnacles to see what the conversion of the reach, the marketing, the data tracking, and how that's being returned over to them. We also talked about creating kind of a Pinnacle experience, not only creating people to go to Pinnacles, of course, but also what next? How do we get them to come to downtown? How do we get them to go to San Juan? How do we get them to come back and invest their dollars, not only by going on a hike, but bringing in, and that is where you can be able to track TOT, like tourism dollars, economic development dollars, et cetera.
So with that, with the questions that were just previously asked, I was thinking, it's like, those are going to be kind of hard to, unless you go and you see this with your own eyes, those are numbers that are going to be hard for you to come up with. I just want you to know that I see in the mixers how you are promoting small business. You're promoting small business, and you're also promoting, and you're paying for their services also. So it's, and that is huge for our community. And for the people that don't go inside and see this stuff, you can't see it. But when you go in and you see what's going on, and you see the context, the connections that have, the time you guys put into, I can't think of her name at Pinnacles. Also the magazine that you guys got Hollister to be the center,
A feature.
center feature. Yes. I'm not good with words, but you know what I mean? And it's like, so, you know what? Yeah, we might need some more information to come back with but for one, I see what you guys do, and I see collaboration is everything for me. And HDA and you guys have come a long way, and I think that any relationship is always going to be able to make it better. And I look forward to that. And with the staff that you have and the staff that HDA has, I think it's a great thing for not just our city, just downtown, because HDA is, I believe, is 12 blocks. And you guys are 1,400 square miles. So, together, you guys can do great things for our city, and you have my support. And I just want to thank you for your presentation. Oh, one thing else, the grant, you were talking about, you're a grant writer. Do you offer these services to the community, to the businesses?
Grant writing?
Yeah.
Or
assisting with them in their grant writing, because seems to be a lot of money out there that we here in Hollister just aren't informed.
Yeah.
And when we are informed, it's like we need help doing that.
Right.
So I don't know if you provide a service to help people at a low cost, or I'm really supportive in that. And as far as overlaps, I don't believe it's just you that are overlapping them. I think it's everybody overlapping each other. And so for something like that to be a little bit more fine tuned would be great. But it's not just you overlapping them, it's everybody overlapping each other. And that's not just with this. I think there's a lot of in our community, our nonprofits, we could be working a lot better together. We're doing good, and I'm always for establishing a better relationship for our future. And that's the one thing about the 150 celebration, is that it is not just celebrating the 150, which is huge. We've got a great history here, but this is an opportunity for all of our nonprofits, our city, to all work together, and the county all work together, and it establishes a pattern and relationships for the future to get better things done more efficiently. Thank you.
Councilmember Morales.
Thank you. So I agree with Vice Mayor Perez, and I do want to say that I think where you do work collaboratively, and that is a strength that HDA and you and other partners have in terms of working together. In terms of feedback, Vice Mayor and I have been meeting with the businesses and just impacted residents. And I do want to say that, as I mentioned, feedback comes in a variety of different ways, and they all say very positive things about the organization, the professionalism, and that you're one of the trusted organizations that they go to in order for them to get help. So that in itself is feedback I support. I do want to see, again, base, what are we paying for specifically? What are we getting? What kind of support, and more collaboration? And the state and federal government do reward collaborative efforts, and some of them are requirements. So, and I'm sure you know that. So we look forward to, I'm supportive, and I look forward to just the working relationship that we're going to have moving forward.
Thank you.
Mr. Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I didn't know that anybody could speak that quickly and be that clear. So you're amazing. You have my respect in that regard as well.
Thank you.
So I was wondering, can you please bring back up the pie slide with the budget? Thank you. Appreciate that. So with regard to the City of Hollister contribution, 52.5. I'm supportive, and I'm going to support you. I want to put that out there, but I have my concerns, as I've heard expressed by others, in this case, Councilmember Resendez. For the life of me, I don't get why we're paying more in contribution than the county of San Benito. And so I'm curious, I'd like to see us leverage the county to step up. I don't want to step down, but I'm curious, if we were to step down to whatever the county did, if we had some sort of an agreement where we're going to match, and that could even be better if they want to up the ante. But if they say, no, we're going to hold firm at our price, and if we chose to step down to that level, how would that have an impact? And you might not know at this time, so I'm not really trying to put you on the spot, but what I'm trying to do is pressure the county to step up to the plate, is really what my goal is here. And I'm also curious if you have any other ideas how we as elected officials could encourage them to contribute more, because in this case, I think more is better.
Right.
But
I wholeheartedly actually appreciate that comment very much. I think we've been, we're obviously in constant, contact with the county, and we're basically asking the same kinds of questions that you're asking. How can we leverage that more? Because we, as an organization, don't just service a particular radius. We do San Benito County, Hollister, which is a huge part of that. But how can we make the funding model work for the programs? How can that kind of be transparent and equal one another? So I'd love to sit down with you, and like I said, kind of in the spirit of collaboration, see how we can leverage the county to be more of a match. That was the spirit of the MOU back a couple of years ago when that was kind of done. For whatever reason, again, prior to my time, unfortunately, it just didn't go through, and that's just kind of been like the ongoing allocation that we've received, which we're super grateful for. I think in an ideal world, I'm here as a part-time executive director. and all my staff is part-time. So I think in an ideal world, we want to continue to build capacity. I think we all can agree and know that even with that kind of combined budget, it barely brings one full-time person really. And a lot of the job that we do is, I mean, we're here on a full-time basis, not, paid as a full-time, of course, the life of a nonprofit. But we do it here. We do that because we're here for the community. We want everybody to be successful. We do focus a lot on quantitative data with numbers and stuff, but a lot of it too is our qualitative approach to like the stories and the narratives that we hear from like the vendors that we work with, the businesses. Councilwoman Morales mentioned some of the feedback that was received by businesses. We did do a poll, I think maybe a year ago or so, which organizations and which business advocacy organizations are kind of the most trusted, that kind of stuff. And the chamber was, the top of the poll for a lot of that stuff. And we're very thankful, I think, and blessed to be able to have that kind of pillar in the community. I think in combination with the chamber's been around for over 100 years. Now that foundation is really kind of seeking to do a lot of community impact programs. Everything we do is community impact. How can we do community impact? That's why I want to just kind of demystify any kind of allegation or any kind of potential, just anything that might say otherwise, because we're not. We're, when you see us out there, we're running around, we're sweating, we're doing everything that we can to be really community driven. For many of you that might know me, I come from Youth Alliance, come from nonprofit world, marketing, communications, and programming. And so a lot of that is really kind of the spirit of why this is engraved in what we do, obviously with the tourism and economic development benefit, because we want it to make sense. But the community aspect is really what we focus on as well. Bringing even like the Pathways Empowerment Program, people think, oh, it's scholarships. It's not just scholarship. It's a holistic model that invests in you to bring back economic betterment and development in generations to come. How do we do that? We invest in them now. We keep up with them. We offer them internships. We leverage our business community to be able to be career development driven. How can we like bring these partnerships? Like there's so many gaps that we see, like how can we just streamline this and make it better, right? And I think a lot of that is in that spirit of like, we can do more and we can do better. And it's been really, I think, rewarding for a lot of the work that we've done. And we're very blessed to be able to do that and to continue that conversation with the city, of course, but also the county and partners as well. One of which I mentioned, the Resiliency Network, phenomenal. It's been phenomenal working with them and that kind of network of organizations. So
Great. So, and speaking of partnerships, I know that on this pie grid, I'm not.
Sorry if the font's
I'm not seeing the city of San Juan Bautista anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I presume some of your work, because it's San Benito County, would go towards there. And again, I'm all about trying. I recognize fairness is a term that can rarely, if ever, really be achieved. But if they're getting the benefit of your services, I think they need to step up to the plate as well. And I'd actually like to see is, I've asked you to come back to us at some point potentially and tell us if we downsize our contribution, what that would look like and how that would impact services. But I'm also thinking San Juan Bautista could come to the table as well. And maybe we increase the pie to get more resources and more outcomes. And I'm open to that conversation as well. And I just want to say that out front right here and now. This council has also created an ad hoc committee, and I believe Ms. Morales mentioned that, and she and our vice mayor, Mr. Perez, are that committee. And I think there would really be a great opportunity to work with them as well, because they're very much engaged with our downtown and with our business community and special events. And as it relates to special events, I'm really kind of more about the numbers. The vice mayor is warm and fuzzy. I'm more cold and calculated, I guess.
We love both.
And so, well, and that's a great response. Unrehearsed, I might add. But one of the things that I really am very curious about is you've talked about Savor San Benito. We know we have the 150-year celebration coming up. You've talked a little bit about Pinnacle National Park. And in the past, there's been a lot of conversation and even present conversation about moving forward with our Independence Rally. One of the things I don't like approximates. I'm not warm and fuzzy. What I want to know at the end of the day with any of these events is what is the economic impact been to the community, whether it be in hotels and TOT, whether it be in restaurants, whether it be in sales tax.
Mhm.
I mean, we can go over all of that. But at the end of the day, I'd love to know what, because the Pinnacle National Park is a God-given resource to us. How do we as a community directly benefit? And I'm talking numbers, dollars. I think it would be amazing. And I very much appreciated what you said about, yeah, let's get them to come to the park, because that's, you can't get much better in my mind than that. And it's natural, but let's get them to go to our wineries after that. I have a friend of mine that just came to San Benito County. Her daughter's getting married and they're looking at doing a wedding here, and that's $50,000. Now I know it's all not coming to us, but it's coming to the winery. And man, it costs a lot to get married now. But ultimately, I'd really like to know more about that. I mean, I've heard a lot of inferences over the past 20 years as our rally has come and gone and come and gone and come and gone, that it brings financial benefit to the community. But I've never ever been able to really define what that is. Give me a real dollar number, because I know as a council member, we often struggle. Is it budget neutral? And at one point I was a strong advocate for the thought that I thought it needed to be. I've since over time softened and shifted my position to where, even if it costs us money, if there's a benefit to the community that can be articulated and quantified, I'm in.
Right.
And so, as recently talking about making things bigger and connecting them, again, I think you're spot on. This council a couple of weeks ago had a very good conversation about, do we do the rally and make it Hollister based, or do we expand it to the region to include, the events going on in Monterey County? And I think your timing is really good in this. And for me, I really want to see us move there, and I want numbers. I need the numbers. The numbers are going to drive decisions for me. And I'm tired of being in an approximate world and a warm and fuzzy world. I want to be cold and calculated. And that works well with my personality, incidentally. The final thing that really concerns me, and even though there might be a legal opportunity, and I get that, I really would like to see if in fact there's truth to the comments that the chamber and your organization as well, or one or the other, I highly encourage you to stay out of the politics. We do a good enough job of mucking it up ourselves. And so I really want to see it really be driven by the needs of our community, because these faces are going to come and go and change periodically. And so let's make it all about Hollister. Let's make it all about San Juan Bautista. Let's make it all about San Benito County. And so I'm really open to those conversations with you one-on-one, but I would really think that the better route would be to deal with our ad hoc committee on special events, because they really have the pulse of the community. I'm just the mean old ogre. So with that, again, thank you for your presentation.
No,
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for your comment. And just a side note on that, we are actually super excited to be joining that committee. We just joined the couple other meetings that happened, the ones that are upcoming. We actually went downtown business to business to invite folks to come over to that meeting. So not only as a chamber, right, we're invested, we want our business community to be invested. So we took flyers and just kind of went door to door. We're like, let's go. So thank you.
Well, you've heard it, cold and calculated over there and warm and fuzzy over here. I'm just, I'm direct. I didn't support this the last time around for a couple of reasons. I'm a supporter of the chamber. I'm a supporter of HDA, and I almost didn't support that one. And the reason was, number one, politics. If you get politics mixed into your organization, you're going to fail. You're going to fail, because now you're not making decisions based on what this community needs. You're making it based on what a few organizations or a few individuals want. And that takes you off track. I think you said it best: complicated, kind of crazy. And that's how I see your organization. This is why I'm not supporting it right now, because when you're complicated and you're kind of crazy, you're not getting anything done. The chamber can play, should play, and has played a very important, vital role in the community, but it can't be everything. And when you're trying to be a foundation to raise scholarships and trying to do this over here and trying to do that over there, what's going to happen is you're going to fail everywhere. You can't. There's organizations out there that are completely focused on scholarships and helping the kids. You know that, you came from that world. But the business organization, that's not their role. They have to be very clear on where they're trying to get to. HDA has a role in trying to bring events to downtown area and make the businesses here in the area succeed, and also get our residents to understand there's a beautiful downtown for them to experience. The chamber's role is, how do you get the businesses to get to the resources they need? That's what you guys are for. And understanding how to provide that is critical, not only for you guys, but for the businesses to understand you can provide that role. You do ribbon cuttings. You guys are excellent at it. I love the Amazon ribbon cutting, the biker balloon and all the fun things. Excellent example of what you do. And I can tell you, I'm sure Amazon saw that and said, hey, these guys are good. We need to take businesses and help them succeed. That focus has to be there. Local businesses first. Those that are serious about coming in, what are the resources? How do you direct them to the city or to the county to get what they need done? It's a very important role. That's where the partnership of HDA and you guys come together, because they can simply say, we have this business, they want information, pass them over to you guys, you move forward. See where I'm getting here? When we're scattered and we're planning events, we're losing focus. It's another group planning events, right? The conversation about Pinnacles National Park has been there since the day it opened as a national park. I can remember that conversation of tourism and all these great things that come with it. I remember the conversation. It's not about us bringing people to Pinnacles National Park. It's about us having people experience our community on their way to the national park. All the different travel agencies and so on, people are traveling, they're going to find a national park. That's why national parks are so successful. That's not our role. Our role is getting them back here, get them into the community, get them to the wineries so they can pay $50,000. That's your role. And I think what I see happen is the county loses focus. We're going to do a wine trail. We're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And we're going to do, oh, wait, there's a shiny object over there. Let me go chase that. What, county, what are you doing? Stay focused. If you're going to do the wine trail, it's not that it's complicated. There's just not a focus. And again, this is where your group can play a big role in telling the county, look, what's our goal? Forget chasing all these fairy tales people are promising you. We know we have a motorcycle park. We know we have a national park. We know we have good wineries. Where are the hotels? Where are there more wineries that can have these events? What are you doing to encourage that county so we can get more wineries open and preserve our ag land, rather than, hey, here's a great idea. If we just take the ag land away and build 1,000 homes, we'll get a lot of people to come over here and experience our community. No, this is where that role has to be played. And again, the only reason I'm not going to support you right now is because there's politics involved. And if politics get involved, you're not going to be able to focus your attention the way you should. And the second reason, as I pointed out, you have too many things going on. I want you guys to get back to that focus, that clear focus that we're going to help our businesses now succeed and encourage more businesses to come in and help them succeed. And then I'm your biggest fan. I don't blink at that number. The reason I don't support it is for the things I mentioned, and more importantly, understanding that your biggest partner, the county, is shortchanging you. And if they're not believing in you, it makes it hard for me to believe in you. So we can get to that point, and I know we can again. I just said this about HDA. They were completely off course. And I made it very, very clear, very direct. I could not support them if they're going to stay in that direction. They changed course and have been very successful the last few years. And I know you guys are partnering with them, working with them.
Mhm.
It's just understanding your role in this also, so you achieve a very high success rate. And I know you guys can do it. I know you have the talent. I've watched you over the years. I know you can do it, but we can't do it this way. So that's what I'm going to ask of you.
Mhm.
And when I see that, I'm going to be one of your biggest supporters too. At this point, I am not seeing it. So I'm just being,
Mhm.
not being warm and fuzzy, cold and cocky. I'm just being direct with you. All right.
Thank you.
Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, Valerie Eglund.
I really needed to come up and speak to some of the issues that you've all brought up for the Chamber of Commerce and the foundation, and relating that a lot to REACH, San Benito Parks Foundation. Casting your net as far as you can to get some fish is kind of the idea of nonprofits. When you're beginning in a program or trying to bring in a full community with only 65,000 people in this county, and most of them within Hollister, it kind of is the main directive, so to speak, for the chamber to be working with the city council for that big group of people that you've got focused here in the county. So what Eddie and Michelle are working at is diversifying, casting the net out there, bringing in the warm and fuzzy along with the hard tack nails, you cannot just focus in one area in San Benito County because we do not have the manpower in our nonprofits to focus in and get that, because there's nobody else working on that other stuff around there. You need to really help. It's like a big classroom. You got one teacher, that's all the personnel you've got, and they've got to keep the attention and help every kid out there. So I wanted to throw my support in for what Eddie has been talking about. And dang, I wish I could talk as fast as he did, as well organized as he is, and to see the talent that within this small group that they are really doing and reaching out and helping our businesses, helping our tourism. And speaking of the Pinnacles, as a parks person, the Pinnacles Gateway Partners was strong for a while. And the national parks are really put in a space in order to bring up the economy of that area. And that's why SAMFAR was able to turn it into a national park in order to bring up the economy. And we as a county need to make bank on that, so to speak. And they are willing to reach out and help us in that endeavor. And so the virtual run at the Pinnacles, at first I said, oh man, I don't want to do that. But it was very good. And it is. Thank you.
Mayor, I'd like to move to extend her time to speak for a couple minutes.
Did you have more to say? Did you have more to say, or were you done?
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The Pinnacle Gateway Partners, REACH used to go to these meetings, and that was when Roland was on the board. And we looked at San Juan was there, the wine people were there, the San Juan businesses, Hollister, Downtown Association. I mean, it seemed like everybody was at the table. And so I believe, and just like Hollister Hills as well, that's a state park, but it is also there for the economic development of our area. And for a small group of nonprofits to be able to bring in that energy and kind of suck off of theirs. It's really important to maintain that. And I think the budget is well worth it for this organization.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Navarro, I was going to add one more thing. I just looked back at my notes. One of the focuses, I think your group really helped the community and especially the county, is the TOT. When we talked about this before, many of the hotels didn't understand. They just saw it as a tax on themselves, not realizing their customers are paying for that tax, but those dollars help generate the funds to promote. These are important things that you can be working with the county on, because the reality is on your drive to the Pinnacles National Park, you should have several bed and breakfasts or wineries with a hotel lodging. That's how we succeed. Without that, we're just chasing our tail. All right.
Agree.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other speakers?
There are no more speakers.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Why don't we take a 10-minute break and then we can start budget? This time we are going to resume the meeting and move to item A4. The manager.
Paul, do you want to put up the budget item? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Welcome to our budget meeting. So remember that the purpose of the budget is our financial plan of expenditure. The council sets the goals and policy. But the budget allocates the resources to follow and meet these goals. And the budget provides a management tool for staff to carry out the council's policy. The budget basics, kind of for everybody, as a refresher, is an annual financial plan that identifies revenues, types, and levels of services to be provided, and the amount of funds that can be spent. Balanced budget is a budget in which the planned operating expenditures do not exceed the operating revenues. And then also a fund is an independent fiscal and accounting entity. Our Hollister continues to maintain strong reserves. We currently have still 300 in the rainy day fund reserve and equipment replacement fund reserve, which we would like to continue to increase those with council's blessing. Revenues continue to improve even during COVID-19. I believe the citizens have done their part to be shopping more locally. That has helped our sales tax immensely this past year. We still continue to provide and restore more services. We've done the traffic officers that everybody's good or bad has seen them out there out on the roads. If you got a ticket, you probably felt it was bad, but slowing down the traffic has been a big push. Revitalizing downtown. We've been also improving our parks equipment. And as you see, our streets have been improving with either speed humps or new slurries and road construction that we've done. The city strives to maintain the high level of service to the citizens, and staff is once again presenting a balanced budget. In the past, we prepared this budget on past goals. Oh, sorry, maybe, yeah, it is. Okay. Maybe I'm just used to when I sit down there, it echoes really bad, so. So in the past, we've worked on public safety, economic development, public facilities, and roads, and that's what we've developed again. I put this in your materials just so that you have it. It shows you the comparison of Hollister to other communities. Like I say, you can see, either Gilroy that has another 15,000 population than us, or Marina is half our population. And when you look down at what the revenues they're receiving compared to us, you see that we are a very revenue poor city. So normally we just focus a lot on the general fund because that's the most discretionary funding that we have. I would just say in the past, we've done surveys with the residents. We probably need to update that as we start going through a more robust budget process in the future. So our general fund revenues, they have been increasing. As you can see in the green bar, our projected revenue is actually about 7 million more than what we budgeted, because we thought we would have some COVID effect. But then you also see that the revenue goes down in the city manager's budget because we very conservative and start out with removing what we feel is more of a one-time budget, or one year budget for like your housing and any development related items, so that we don't get in the trap of using those funds that could go away at any moment. This just shows you different categories over the different years where the funding's coming in. Same with the expenditures. Usually with the revenues go up, we do increase the expenditures to provide more services to our citizens. And you can see that our budget for the recommended is coming in approximately the same as last year's also. So we've always said we're a service industry business. You see that 75% of our costs are for personnel. What makes up those expenditures is you would think or anticipate that it's police and fire is our main services. But you can see the other different departments that make up our expenditures. So this also then shows more the breakdown in a percentage. You see police and fire makes up 63% of our budget, which is a very adequate percentage to your general fund budget. As communities start getting up to around 70%, it starts to show that they're becoming very unhealthy with their budget, because the majority is just in public safety. So what we're estimating is our general fund reserves will be at approximately $10 million at the end of this year, which when we look at just to the expenditures without the one-time expenditures, that's almost a 28-29% budget reserve, which a healthy reserve is 20%. And like I say, we have the other available funding for the rainy day and equipment replacement. So our 5-year projection, you'll see that we're anticipating this current year to be more revenue over our expenditures. And then we come back down to the balanced budget that we're presenting right now. And as we look forward, our expenditures are a little bit more than our revenues, but that is not taking into the one-time revenues that could come in, and or trying to find ways to mitigate some of those expenditures that are maybe PERS related. But we feel that it's a close enough delta that we can absorb that over the 5 years. So like I said, we usually like to fund our one-time expenditures with one-time revenues. And like I said, we anticipate finishing the year with excess funds. So we feel like it's time to maybe take care of those expenditures that will cost us in the future. And one thing you'll see is a theme is vehicles, but I'll start with for the non-department is community partnerships. You've heard from the HDA and the chamber. We've also in the past, the Pinnacles Gateway Partnership. I know Renee is here from the EDC to probably under public comment would be asking for the EDC also contribution. We do have a agreement for 70% reimbursement for one of the hotels. So this is ongoing. We always kind of put this in the one time just because it will run out here real soon. Also contributions to the nonprofits, the library, the United Way Area Agency on Aging is one we've done in the past. In the past council meetings, it was recommended that we actually just allocated $50,000 per council member to do traffic studies. We also for this upcoming year, we're going to have the legal and consulting for ballot items that you'll see that actually on the June or our next council meeting on Monday. We have elections this coming year. So we have those costs. The city clerk will have a new position. So needing a computer and office furnishings for them. Then animal control is in desperate need for another truck. Also needing the replacement of their MDCs. And then the fire protection equipment or personal protection equipment. They try to do this on a regular basis, replace the outdated ones with new ones. We need to do an outfitting of a new fire apparatus that is coming. Fire station number 1 is due for a paint job to make sure that the outside is preserved and it doesn't fall apart. And then for the police department, they're needing a replacement of their MDCs. There's a fencing project for security out there, rifle suppressors. They are also in need of police vehicles and then the new CSO pickup trucks. We're still going through the process of the general plan. For engineering, we have, I don't know if everybody's seen a Will or a public works supervisor inspector. His truck is easily 20 years old and it's got the old light. It's how it stays going, I don't know. I think he actually pushes it sometimes. He's built strong enough to do that. But we also have the new position underneath them where they will need a vehicle, and then engineering just needs another one to go out and do inspections. Vehicle maintenance, the same thing. They've been keeping their trucks by leading by example by keeping their trucks vehicle going, but they're also 15, 20 years old. Streets, buildings and grounds. They're another one that's 20 years old. Everybody knows Derek and our street supervisor. He actually got stranded a couple of times this year. That's just not efficient, and it's time to update those things. And then we've ongoing, we have the arborist contract, and then the vets building, the windows need to be replaced. They're starting to, when it rains, water comes in. Recreation needs a van and a parks truck. And then also we're still working on getting the kitchen and grease trap put into the recreation. All those one-time monies are going to be about $3 million total. And where is that money coming from? We still have ongoing commercial and residential development going on. So it'll be coming from their building permits, their engineering inspection charges, the plan check charges, and also planning charges. Plus, like I say, I want to use to excess fund balance from what we're bringing in this year of 1.6, and that would cover the 3 million. Like I said, a lot of these vehicles, pretty much for every department, we would really like to look into electric vehicles, especially with fuel being almost, well, it is $6 a gallon. But it's going to be in competition for everybody else wanting those electric vehicles. But that is something that we're looking into. So everybody has this in the binder, but here's the breakdown of for Per fund, we have what we estimated the fund balance will start with, requested revenues, expenditures, transfers between the funds, and then their projected ending funding balance. The big thing on this page is wanted to show that our budget expenditures right now without the one-time costs are approximately $73 million for all funds. And for personnel, so what we're requesting for administrative services, we're in desperate need for an accounting manager. I think it's to start doing the different things that we're really wanting to look at and to have data for. If that we're needing an accounting manager. For the, you see the removing of a position, that is just really actually removing the code enforcement officer now that we have everybody running out of the police department. Speaking of police department, we want to bring in 2 CSOs. Chief can talk about it under his department, but to actually put those into patrol to help with reporting, anything to get officers back out into the field as fast as possible. And then into Parks and Recreation, a maintenance worker that they just need help with the different parks in that aspect. And then one thing we didn't put on here, but we after much discussion, and it sounded like the desire of the council from last meetings after this was prepared, was actually bringing on another CSO too, and we would look at what that revenue sources would be so that we could make that to accomplish that goal. And then finally, this is just a quick sample. One of the packets or handouts on your desk is actually all the different departments is sample. What we need to finally start doing is having performance indicators. These have numbers in them on the pages you had. I just got this from another organization, and I just kind of left the numbers in just so you kind of see what things would look like, either be percentage or a number. But these are indicators that we really need to start using to make sure that we are running our departments efficiently. And it's a time, I keep kind of saying Hollister is finally, it's time for Hollister to grow up, and having these performance indicators would also help us meet that goal. So in the past, we've either done it for go department by department, but I would really like to see what's really worked in the last year was council really kind of talking about a department and what you would really want to see or a department improve on, and so that we can adjust the budget that way. So I'll leave it to the council.
Thank you, sir. We'll go down the line. Councilman Burns.
You might want to start at the other end.
All right, Councilman Morales, you want to start there?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the presentation and thank you for the outcome measures. I am missing, I think per my request, the community feedback loop and the staff. So those are 2 elements I'm still wanting to see. I also want you to touch on Measure W and how that money is being allocated. According to that measure, there's very specific, it was for very specific priorities, and there were community priorities.
Can I touch on that one real quick? Because Measure W was a general tax, so there cannot be anything specific to it, or it would have required 2/3 vote. Like I say, for our budget, almost 2/3 of it is public safety. So that's really where Measure W goes, is to fill that gap that we were needing to pay for public safety and other items like that. So like I said, we can't ever, Measure W was never sold as a specific tax. So if we did that, then it would have required that 2/3 vote.
Okay, I'm just looking at the website because I saw Measure W and I wasn't sure what that was. So the website states maintain rapid emergency response, maintain operations for fire stations, for police and fire, preventing youth gang and drug prevention and intervention programs, maintaining water conservation programs, maintaining youth programs at the city parks and rec centers, supporting programs to retain, expand, and attract businesses to Hollister. So that's what we told the voters that was going to be used for.
Correct. I would just say without Measure W, we would have probably a 10 million, we'll say about an $8 million hole in our budget. And then that's where we would have to start cutting or laying off people to make up that difference.
Okay. So the other items that I do not see here. So for me, all the community partnership, those need to come back. I want to know more information on the TOT reimbursement, exactly what that is and what that means. Same thing for the nonprofits. I'd like to know how that's determined. I know that we requested to have a retreat, which talked about our priorities, which at least I was not consulted in terms of what my budgetary priorities were. I also would have preferred to have a presentation done by the department heads, their requirements. I also asked for any large expenditures, like we just discussed with the sewer plant. Was it the sewer plant? Sewer plant. That's so in the few months I've been here, I've seen huge dollar requests for very specific projects that were all preventable. The one that's coming on Monday, again, so none of those one-time costs are here. And the other thing that I asked for was predictable large expenditures that we're going to see within the year or within the next 3 years that we know are happening, that we know are going to break down, so that we can incorporate that and see the bigger vision of what we're going to need to spend our money on. So that, because we don't have the accounting systems right now where we can say, here's the amount of money, we just get, here's a one-time, and they're all very large. And that includes a lot of the traffic studies or traffic calming measures. I also don't see the shovel-ready projects that are going to be essential and required for any state or federal allocation, especially for the infrastructure bill. Those have to be completed and we need to budget money for that. Otherwise, we're not going to get any money to the city of Hollister as a result of our inability to plan and have things ready for those allocations. My priorities are to have 2 prevention fire folks to bring in revenue. A lot of our businesses are concerned that the timing and the workload. So those are some of my priorities for the police department. I am going to be asking for a lot of data. And so an analyst and being able to provide some of the perceptions that our community members have and our businesses have about police need to be addressed. And so there needs to be that bridge to be able to do that. So I like to have an analyst there. If you can touch on why we're funding vets, I'm not sure if that's under the city's church. It might be, but I just don't know.
Yeah, I can answer. So the Veterans Building is owned by the city.
Okay, then that makes total sense. Going back to the police, a priority for me would be training, making sure that we have CSAC, a focus on prevention, and a focus on community relations as well. And also looking at community support, especially our businesses are sharing that they're very concerned with young people, farmers market, and empty parking lots that are owned by the city that we don't have the sufficient staffing or the resources to be able to address. And also wherever code enforcement is, all the issues that I brought forth in terms of code enforcement, all those need to be addressed. And I'm not willing to even fund the code enforcement department unless those issues are fixed. Same thing with the permits.
Vice Mayor Perez?
Just a few things. In your budget, what are you preparing for our street sweeper that the Henry's been needing? Is that part in there?
It's not in this budget as of yet because we are working on a fee study, and we need, once that fee study is done and then we can implement it, then we would have the revenue sources that could afford to pay for that street sweeper.
And a lot of these questions, it's like, this is real, like, some of this is like confusing. I don't know if there's an easier way to present budgets or anything. But anyways, also the what's the name of the new truck we're getting, the 1.3? Is that a ladder truck? Is that in here also?
That funding has been approved and it'll be done by financing.
Okay.
So we do have the financing in it.
And then I noticed that, I agree with Council person Dolores. I don't see anything in here for the inspectors. One of my issues that I'm noticing here in Hollister is our substandard housing. And it's an issue that needs to be addressed. I know there's a place that's black mold is going through one of these apartments, and I visited them, and it's not very nice. I've responded with the fire department before to a different fire. Forgot the name of the street. The 15 people were displaced. And knowing that they were red tagged in 20-something, 15, 17. Yeah. Canal. And it's that we don't have the personnel to go back out there and double check to make sure that these red tagged properties are still being used. And seeing the electric wires and the safety to our community, the property values, it's something that needs to be addressed. And so as far as, I don't see anything in here about adding about the inspectors. I know that we are going through this thing with the ad hoc committee, but either way, to me, if this ad hoc committee in the fire district is going to take 2 years to 8 years, either way, our residents are at risk today. And these are issues that we need to address as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of answered got ahead of me. What I was going to say is the fire prevention was something to be brought up during the fire ad hoc committee to find out what was the best solution for that. But this is part of the budget. This is where we can make that decision right now.
Okay. Yeah. That's pretty much it for now, but I'd say, there's so many different places where we need our police officers, I'm glad we're going to increase it by 2. And I know fiscally we have to be responsible how many we can. Public safety is my first and foremost concern.
Correct. And I would say that's what our main goal is to keep our citizens safe. The issue in the past is we've actually put more positions on our position schedule. The problem is that we haven't been able to hire to fill that. And then when we fill up our budget with really just blank positions, that doesn't, usually we have to cut somewhere else. And then a lot of times it's in the past, it's been in recreation or code enforcement or somewhere else, fire prevention. So that's what we really kind of, when we get full staff and we feel we can hire more people, then that's when we brought it back to council and say, finally, we are at full staff. Council, we would like you to make this decision to move forward, because then by the time we also know funding is improving. So that's how we've looked at it in the past.
Yeah. And so two of my biggest concerns are fire prevention and the training for our police officers and surrounding agencies, but we don't have control over that. But just the state of where the world is today, I want to increase the training to make sure our public is safe as possible. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Resendez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So you said we're revenue poor. You've gone to several trainings. I'm sure you're in touch with other city managers. What are they doing to generate more revenue or diversify their portfolio? And are we on the path to doing that? Or, I think that should be like our number one priority here.
I think the one thing I really like to, and then in the near future, it has to come to an election. I think we have enough things on the ballot that's going to confuse people. Is City of Marina changed their how they do their business license. They did it as a small percentage. I think it's like 0.2% of gross revenue of a business as their business license. That actually for your mom and pops, that actually makes it their business license less than it is currently, but then a larger organization actually pays more, that maybe their services, because they're so much larger, actually are paying a more fair share of the cost of city services. The other one is transient occupancy tax. We're at 8%. A lot of other places are at 12, 15%. That's another one that needs to change, but that needs to go to on the ballot also to the of the community. So those are probably those two. For the change in the business license for Marina, brought in an extra $1 million. The TOT would probably bring in another 400 to 500,000. We do have some other businesses coming on. Hollister Farms is finally, they're hoping to be by August or September to be their facilities finished. I don't open probably within the month afterwards or in that month of September is what they're pushing. We do have some other businesses coming online that would help us a lot. So it's expanding our retail businesses is where it's going to help. Our property tax makes up 1/25 of our revenue. So it's not, property tax has not been a solution for us. So and the other thing, other agency or areas have like a utility tax. Usually are not very popular now. That when they first came out, a lot of people went out and got those, and that's usually can bring for a community our size another $1 million. Those are the things that we don't have.
And you don't think that, I mean, we're going to talk about things for an upcoming election anyhow. You don't think that these other two things that you mentioned are something that we can get done for this general?
I mean, the deadline for ballot items are coming up quick, and I think there's a lot of educating needs to be done. And I think there's going to be a lot of distraction with the different items that are being put on the ballot currently.
I just think that they're pretty vital to our community. And if there's any way that we can get it done, that would be nice. And if not, then I would say we need to prioritize that moving forward.
Right. And also when you're proposing taxes or changes of tax or potential taxes, like you said, TOT taxes, the people that are coming in to visit the city, they're not taxing our businesses. It's really a lot of educating them to remind everybody that we're not taxing the businesses, but those are usually done best during a presidential election time.
Okay. Do you have a breakdown on the traffic studies? How much money did we use? If anybody used any of it?
I don't have that available, but I can definitely get that to everybody.
Okay. And then I heard that our police cars are getting like upgraded. Is that reflected on here? Like we order like basic model police cars, but then we get them upgraded. Is that true? And if so, is that reflected on the budget?
Actually, I mean, usually it's the state bid is what we use. So
yes, I'm not sure what you mean by upgraded, but we usually get the state bid for patrol cars. We do add lights and siren and cages. That might be a definition of upgrades. But as far as the engine or the performance of that is whatever is on the state bid.
Okay. And I do like the idea of the electric vehicles. I think, I don't know if it's Menlo Park got Teslas recently that I saw. And they're, I think, having to upgrade them or something. But I mean, economically speaking, right? That's the future. We need to look into it. And I really like that I've even having this conversation.
If I may, the last conferences we've had several presenting, there's several agencies that already have those. NYP, New York Police Department just received about 200 Mustang Mach-E's Ford electric vehicles. So it's coming down the road. We already looked into it. We can't order any at this point here in California. So if they become available, it's something that we should look into because that is something that's probably going to be in the future.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Burns.
Thank you.
You're still thinking about that Tesla car for city council members, aren't you?
I'm telling you, that could work for me. So I guess I want to begin with a conversation or at least my thoughts about budgets moving forward. It really makes little sense to me to be talking about a budget in early June when it's hopefully going to be ratified by the end of the month. And so I would like to see budget conversations begin probably in February, March at the latest. And like Councilwoman Morales, I would like to see actually individual department heads come up, review what they have and what they need or what they forecast they need. I certainly am, I don't know that you're asking us to approve a budget today, but I would say if you were, I would say I wouldn't support that. I mean, we just swore in a brand new public works director today. And so I would really want him to get a good view of what he's got and what he forecasts he needs. And so we can be responsive to him, but also all the other department heads, whether it be the chief of police, the fire chief, public works director, so on and so forth. And so for me, I just think, and Mr. Miller, I heard you say it's time for us to move into the next iteration of budget, and I couldn't agree more with you. I don't want to rush to these decisions. I really want to try and understand them better. So one of the things I have a question on is, and again, I didn't actually write it down, but we're going to have, I won't say about a $10 million budget surplus, but we're going to have a reserve fund of about $10 million. Is that what I heard you say?
That's what our fund balance would end at. So that my recommendation is to move some of that when it truly, when the year closes out, if we have more funds than what we actually budget or using that surplus, is to put those into the reserve, more robust equipment replacement and rainy day funds, because we saw what happened. We were lucky, made the changes that needed to be made right away when the pandemic happened, but we never know when the economic downturn could happen or how severe it can be. And most communities that had a robust reserve program were able to ride out things very, very well. We were just lucky that our sales tax generation really increased during COVID, so it saved us.
Thanks. I would argue that we weren't lucky. We were calculated, and I think that was a better, clear strategy, and I think it has paid dividends. Now, having said that, where are the current $9.7 million of ARPA money in this number?
It's just sitting in its separate fund. So we, like I said, the council has given me direction on doing the loan program thing. So there's $7 million still, well, sorry, let's make about $6 million still sitting there to be used. We haven't received our second payment yet. So that was, it's kind of been left to kind of whatever the council would like to do with that.
Understood. And so I just want to make sure that even though that's in the general fund, I would kind of like it in an area where we can continue to view it, monitor it, and then make sure that it's going to
that's
appropriate uses.
Right. And that was the intent.
Okay. And so I do have a laundry list of things, and I promise council, I won't get into the weeds too deep on any of these, but if I don't mention them, then you can't be prepared and the council can't ponder whether they make sense or not. But you did mention a utility tax. I would be interested in hearing more about that, even though I know that could certainly be an unpopular request. I also 100% supportive of TOT. And in my mind, I understand why you're saying the time may be short and it's something that needs community education. And as I recall, that this has been a path previously traveled and failed. And as I understand, it was about the education, because how could you not raise the TOT if the guests of our community are paying that? It doesn't cost us anything to do it, frankly, and it seems foolish not to, but I think education is a big piece of that.
Yeah, my understanding it's failed twice. Once during my tenure here at the city, but my understanding was before I got here, it failed once before too.
Right. And so for me, I would support that moving forward 100%. I'm encouraged by your comments about moving into performance metrics or measures. I think we need to be smart with how we do things, and sometimes we overthink them and sometimes we underthink them. And so I think if we set goals and standards and we have ways to measure those. When I was in Monterey County, we used them. When I was in Spokane, Washington, we used them. And so I see the value to those, and I support that, moving that forward. Not terribly encouraged by your discussion on business taxes. I don't know that we want to add to businesses. And I did hear what you said, that smaller businesses might not. I personally have a business license with the city of Hollister, and I think I paid 117 or 120 bucks. And frankly, that's a tax write-off anyway. And I don't generate a lot of income, but I do not necessarily want to look at that in the future, but I'll acquiesce to the will of the council moving forward to that. So some of my more direct comments would be, I agree 100% with Vice Mayor Perez. My number one priority is going to be public safety. And I have had some conversations with the chief of police in regards to, I'd love to authorize more officers' positions. But having said that, there are challenges to do that because we're not competitive with other agencies within our region. And so it's my understanding that we probably underpay our officers by somewhere between $17,000 to $25,000 per officer per year. And I want to become more competitive with Gilroy or Morgan Hill or San Jose and so I think we may need to first try and figure out how we pay our cops more, not only to keep them, but to fill current vacancies. I know City of Fresno is finally at a point where they're about to become whole in all of their police. And that's like comparing watermelons to grapes in size of communities. But yet, if Fresno found a solution, I don't know why we can't. And if it's a dollar thing, seems like now is the time to have that conversation as well. And I really do want to get there. Public safety, it doesn't matter how great our parks are. It doesn't matter how nice our downtown is. If it's not a safe community, then nothing else matters, in my opinion. And so I do want to look more at compensation for our public safety. And in this case, I'm talking specifically the police department, but I also want to talk more about the fire department at some point.
Sorry to interject, just
No,
so
go ahead.
council authorized the class and comp study. We're hoping that should be this month or July at the latest, so that having that information will definitely help us in all aspects of the city.
I agree 100%. So some of the more of the line items are, for example, I saw you suggest that to paint the fire department, we're going to pay $65,000. Are we going to paint it with gold leaf? Because $65,000 seems like a lot of money to paint a fire department. But I'm thinking, why don't we have a on-staff painter? I think we could occupy a painter full-time just doing the sound walls. Because I know, like Sunny Slope Village, I don't think those walls have ever been painted in the 25 plus years that complex has been there. And that's our obligation, our responsibility. Originally, we talked about maybe doing a community project, but as I think this through, I see more risk than reward in that regard. And so I know that this city outsources. I know that some of the park equipment we've used a local painting contractor to do that because we needed to, but I really want to move beyond the conversation of continuously outsourcing things. And so, I'd like to see us add a painter to the city staff, a journeyman level painter that could also be responsible for graffiti abatement as well. I go to different parks and I see graffiti. I will say that the Public Works has been very responsive, has you, Mr. Miller, and Tina in our rec department to make sure that gets taken care of. But I want to be proactive. I don't want to necessarily continue to be responsive to that. As our community continues to build out, I do think that graffiti can have a direct and immediate impact on the quality of life in our communities. And so I would support 100% Councilwoman Morales's position about the 2 fire inspectors. Absolutely think that they are necessary. 2 weeks ago or so, I think I heard our chief of the fire department talk about how many of the fires could have been prevented had we had fire inspections done proactively, excluding the arsonists. And so you can't necessarily prevent arson, but again, I do see the value to that. But recognizing we now have a new law firm on board that has expertise in code enforcement, I think this is a great opportunity for us to work with our new city attorney and their firm to really put some cost recovery measures in place that make sense. I think we're missing a lot of opportunities there whether it be in code enforcement, whether it be in fire inspection, whether it be in the police department. There's a lot of money we're leaving on the table that once we start to hold people accountable, the goal would not be to collect money from them. It would be for them to not need our resources that are not warranted or necessary. And so we hold them accountable financially. And I think, I'm so excited for our new law firm. I can't say how excited I am to see where this goes.
I will interject for the staff and myself. We've been very excited also. It's, I just can't, I won't deviate too much from that, but thanks.
Right. I'd also like to see more money set aside for additional cameras. We've had conversations about cameras. Again, I think we need to police smarter, not necessarily harder. And given our circumstances of having difficulty attracting and retaining good staff, we got to use technology as well. And I have no appetite or energy left for some of the challenges I'm hearing in our development community. I've been on council now about 18 months. This is my second budget. And I've tried to be patient, but quite candidly, I do want to see us bringing back some of the department heads that we have currently contracted out with. And that's really not an additional body. That's just stop paying a consultant. And so I would like to see us bring back a city engineer. I would like to see us bring back a chief building official. I don't mind so much if we have to outsource those folks underneath them, but that will level or I hope increase our standard of accountability. I'm not saying those people aren't accountable that are currently working in firms that work for us, and they have provided a necessary and valuable service, but I think I'm ready to move on. So know that you bring a budget, at least if there's an item in there that includes that as an outside resource, I'm not going to sign off on it. So I'm just going to be quite candid, quite forward on that. I'd also like to see us add an additional, actually it wouldn't be an additional, I presume, but let's start with one combination in-house building inspector as well, and then we can figure it out. I've heard the mayor say, and I don't disagree with the mayor, there are ebbs and there's valleys and peaks in the development within the city. And so those needs are going to have some baseline, but then I understand they can spike. And so we may need to outsource some of that or bring in additional resources. And I don't want to regrow too fast, but it's probably been 20 years since we've actually had a building department, as I understand it. And I know that when I left the city of Hollister in 2004 or 5, the building department was eliminated at that time as part of the reduction in force. And I think 20 years is enough time to start looking at that. So I would like to also consider bringing on a full-time grant writer position as well. I see that there's value to that. I've heard that, or possibly something shared with HDA or the chamber to allocate those resources. I'm not opposed to a partnership in that regard, but, and I'm not necessarily sure it would, in my opinion, have to be driven specifically by income. It may be something where it's results driven, where I'm wide open to that conversation.
Real quick on that, it's just kind of give you a preview for the 6th. We do have an agenda item on there for a grant writer, and to be, I don't want to go too much specifics, but it's to be in collaborative with the county. So maybe that might address your concerns, and then we can discuss that after that meeting.
Okay. I'm absolutely fine with that.
Yeah.
I also would like to know if we're going to move forward to purchase several vehicles during this budget cycle, are we going to buy locally? I've heard the chief say, and I understand the state bid, and I'm fine with that as well. Sometimes that's your best value, and in some cases, but I don't know. I'd like to know more about, if we're going to buy public works trucks, why aren't we buying them from a local dealership if we can? And so I see a bit of a, I don't know if I'm stirring up a hornet's nest.
Yeah,
here or
no,
not, but-
I will say, in theory, we agree fully. That's why we're smirking is we did that. The local got the bid, but they can't produce the vehicles where another bidder, we could have had those vehicles already. So that's our concern. I think how we would write it is that the vehicles would have to be delivered within a certain amount of time.
I absolutely get that. I just recently bought a work truck, and I tried to buy it locally. They had it. I was ready to just pull the trigger on the deal. And lo and behold, that particular vehicle had already been sold to the city of Morgan Hill. So I ended up buying the same truck in Bakersfield. But, I always want to try and buy locally, and I want to use our local resources. But, if they can't fulfill our needs, then that's a secondary issue. But I still think we start local.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do that. Like I say, I think we need, in the past, it was real easy. You just put out a bid and whoever won it, and you got that vehicle pretty much right away. It's a weird economy now where, people say, yeah, well, we'll sell it to you, but then you don't get that vehicle for a year. So that's, we're needing to rewrite things as things change.
Right. Chief, I saw your finger itching for the trigger on the microphone.
No, I think you covered it. I just wanted to say that the local, I think a big problem was the COVID and the delays for going local. But yeah, there were other vehicles that were available that we could have gotten, but we weren't able to make that purchase. And that's one of the reasons why you see that in the requested budget for those same vehicles that we were supposed to get last year. We just never did. And then the cost of everything is going up as well.
Sure.
So yeah, we do try to go local. And my understanding is the city has bought a significant amount of trucks locally through our dealers here.
Yeah, last year's budget, we did for the water department, and that was all done local.
Okay, and I'm encouraged to hear that. Again, I'd rather buy local whenever possible, and candidly, even if we have to pay a little bit more to do business locally, I think it, I'm of an understanding that when you buy locally, that dollar will move around at least 3 or 4 times and increase significantly.
Correct. It's good economic development for the community.
Right. So I'm a little curious. Can you tell me a little bit about your, I think it was about $250,000 on the arborist position?
Yeah, we've done a contract where this will be I believe, the last year of that contract, where we spent about $250,000 a year for them to come out. They provide an arborist and then also the tree service. And so they do all the tree trimming for us.
Okay, so they're actually doing the physical labor as well.
Correct. The concerns, and I've asked for the reports, is are they actually doing the work that they said? That has been a concern because I am starting to get complaints. But just like when we used to have street sweeping, they have their GPS or a log of the trees that they did, and I've requested that. And once I get that, I'll get that out to council. But yeah, it's a specialty area, so trying to find maybe an arborist that would come to work for Hollister, that's probably was in the past why they kind of got out of it.
Right. And again, now that we have a new public works director, Mr. V, I would like to hear his thoughts on that as well.
Okay.
Bringing a different perspective from Los Banos or other
Sure.
places he may be familiar with. I think that would be very, very helpful to us as well. And then I guess for now, finally, I'm very supportive of the idea of going more green with either electric vehicles. Again, my jurisdiction, my division, we just bought 20, we bought 10 Chevy Volts and we bought 10 Toyota Priuses, which aren't electric, but they're hybrid. And if we can't get all electric hybrid, and I know those won't work for the PD. I mean, I can barely stuff myself in either of them, but when it comes to other vehicles that the city would use that are not necessarily, in code enforcement, we don't need pickup trucks, quite candidly. But for generations, that's all we've wanted. And I'm not sure why, but those electric vehicles and those hybrids were working very well for us. And so
I would say for us, the main reason we haven't had trucks and with the lift gate was to pick up shopping carts.
yeah, well, that's good for one vehicle
Right.
you absolutely need that, no doubt. But for other departments, general departments,
Right.
I think the sooner we can go green, the better for all of us. And again, with the price of fuel, I think that's just being smart.
Right.
So those are my thoughts and comments. I hope I've given you enough work to keep you busy. I know you're going on vacation, so
I'll get it done.
yeah, I know. And I don't have a pressing urgency for this as long as soon. So Mayor, those are my thoughts and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I agree on a lot of your comments. The cost recovery, I've always felt, still do, code enforcement really is one of the front lines of prevention of fires or criminal activity, so on. We know we needed to add to this department for a while. And moving forward on that, I think is going to be a very important part. But also, as Mr. Burns keeps pointing out, the cost recovery portion of it. It does us no good if we're, as we see with the weeds, if everyone knows we're going to come cut their weeds for them for $100, why do it? Let the city come do it for $100. When it costs $1,000 to do it, that when you start hearing the griping about the city's charging me $1,000 to cut down my weeds, and it's like, well, there's an easy solution to it. Go take care of it yourself. We're not going to get out of that that problem. And you know, same thing with the law enforcement, police. If we're going to the same residence more than 3 times, there's a cost. There's a big cost. Or again, fire. We need to recoup cost on that. So I think we've made progress over the years, but want to make sure that when we're moving this direction now, we're being mindful of that. I think again, you put together a good budget. We've done really some incredible things here over the last several years with our budget and our funding. Most communities didn't have the results we had through COVID. And we moved early. I remember that March, we moved quick to making sure we were going to be prepared. So we were very successful in that. But I want to make sure we're not looking at these numbers right now and saying lots of money, spend lots of money. I'm a big believer in the one-time strategy that we've been using. As I mentioned in the past, so I want to make sure that we never forget where we were when we're in trouble, and make sure we're putting together a map that never allows us to go back there. And that being, as we have extra dollars, to keep treating them as those one-time dollars so we can take care of things as we have the cash, but not get ourselves in a situation where if the economy turns on us, and it looks like it's going to turn, just been a matter of time, we're not in that position of having to talk about layoffs, because I just don't want to get there. So I want to make sure we're mindful of that and doing well. And again, I think you've done well in this. There is a couple of conversations or comments, and I want to make sure that we're clear, the public understands where we're at with this, because sometimes even here at the city, it's we forget, or we don't have, for whatever reason, the information. But the conversation about infrastructure and what's been put together, I think it's a very important topic. You mentioned some of the dollars on that earlier. 70, how many
Oh, for the total budget was I don't have it in front of me. 70, yeah, 70. I can remember it was 73 or 70.
something. So I want to make sure that people understand that those plans are actually ready, and some are being done as we speak. This is what we moved forward with the financing several months ago, so we can get projects done this year. And it's going to be important for the public to know that these are coming around the corner here. Very, very important. I think we've been very successful at that. So it's important for the public to know that. And if there's questions, I mean, I think our engineering department was going to put together the list of projects so we can get out to the public so they know what's coming. So I think that's probably going to be important for us here as we're doing the budget, come back for more conversations to understand what those are. The other conversation I heard, I want to make sure we're clear on this, is the revenue poor conversation that we have in this community quite a bit. And I guess confusion on why that is. And that's mainly revolves around property tax. And it's something I learned in my first year here was, whoa, we got to go back to the state and fight for our dollars, only to find out we're getting our dollars like every other community, except our split of the 1% is a very low split to the city, because that's the way it was divided up during Prop 13. And once that happened, there wasn't anything we can do about it, or anybody else. That's what it was. 65+% goes to the schools and
Correct.
13% to the county and all the other agencies, and we were stuck with the 3 point something of the 1%. So
Right. So $2 million comes to our general fund in property tax, where we're estimating $34 million, not one-time revenues. So that's really the breakdown. Property tax does not cover the cost of to run our city.
and this is a very important part to know, so people understand that, as I've said in the past, just building and building more houses is not the answer. It's building a community that is the answer. So dollars are staying in our community from the sales tax revenue and some of the others. And I think we've done a good job. I want the people to note, as you mentioned, new shopping center will be opening this year. We've had some new facilities in the airport area. We're going to add to some of those sales tax revenues. So we're going from revenue poor to a moderate stream, and eventually leading to the success of it by planning financially on what's bringing in revenue rather than what's creating expense. And that's, I think, the hard part, because it's as I said to John earlier, shiny object syndrome leads you to make financial mistakes. You're chasing something that's not going to give you a return in the long term. And this is what we found in the past, but I think the different view on it has helped us. And now allocating some of the VLF fees, which is into the pot from the property tax, allows us now to finally focus on keeping pace with the repairs of the roads, where in the past we weren't able to do that because the answer was we don't have dollars because we're revenue poor. But it's allocating dollars in the right accounts that allow us to keep planning for it. So I want to thank you and the entire council for finally getting to that point. That's helping with the roads and the infrastructure. So that's a very important part. I think we need to somehow get to the public so they're very clear on, not only for the city, but this is the exact same situation for the county. The only difference here at the city is we passed the sales tax measure. They gave us the extra 1%, which now leading to 7-8 million.
Yeah, we're estimating 8 million.
That was a strategic move that was done in the past, but even in the past, when it was first passed, by not allocating those dollars correctly, it never got us out of the hole. But once we did, we got out of the hole, and now we're seeing the results of those dollars. This is important. The reason I'm bringing this up is because we don't want to make the mistakes of the past, or as in the county, they decided they didn't want to do that, which led to the loss of $3 to $4 million a year for them because they didn't do it. But more importantly, making sure the public understands that we are using those dollars wisely in a way that prevents the layoffs, but also allows us to make the improvements we've been making in the parks, as we talked about a minute ago, the infrastructure. Because when the public sees that and understands it and not misinformed about it, that's what leads to the confidence of allowing it to continue. We had a 20-year sunset on that, I believe. And that will be coming up in 12 years or something.
No, I think
10 years, 14.
it was when it got renewed for another 20. We still had like
That was
roughly 2 years
2016,
left.
right?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I think we're like about another.
Okay. So I want to make
17.
sure that we're letting the public know that we've been very highly successful because of that. And we're using the money wisely. We went from 17 firefighters, 40 something, 44, 42. Chief, you remember the police department back in that time? It was, I think you had one cop and a lot of fake cars. Acting like we had more cops. We're getting a strong department, but I agree with Mr. Burns. We need to figure out how to make sure we're not losing them. So we've done a lot of good work in that aspect. So we got to make sure we're clear about that so we don't lose that. TOT. And this is something, again, the public is confused about. And this is, as you heard me, might have remembered that I mentioned it to the gentleman that was here, Mr. Navarro, for the chamber to be focused on this, because that's that part that helps sell the TOT, because most people hear tax and they go into panic mode. That's going to tax them. And it's the opposite. It leads to revenue, more revenues for more promotions to do better things. And I think we've been successful in our program to bring hotels here by using the TOT strategy that we did. And it's led to another hotel recently. But we also have to, and I talk about this in partnerships as county understanding this too. So we're working together, going back to the conversation of the chamber. So I think we did good there. You're correct. The strategy of presidential elections, more likelihood of passing than these gubernatorial elections. It's just not the voter turnout we need. So we have to build that strategy and the understanding of what that would mean for our community. So I think that's good there. Public safety, again, the police and the fire have done a good job at working with what they have and making it better. But I do want to eventually get back to the conversation we had many years ago, and that was making sure that our community, our city, if whatever reason we have financial disaster again. And I tell people this, we didn't have a recession here in Hollister. We actually had a depression. We were at 25% at one point unemployment. We were actually in depression. We need to make sure that we allocate dollars correctly, that we could survive without that 1%. So we can use that 1% for one times and be successful. So when we do get hit by that recession that will come, we don't need to talk about layoffs. And we're financially sound. All we do is absorb and just slow our roll and keep move forward. I think, again, this is the strategy that worked during COVID, and very, very few communities had the success we had financially. And that was, again, a lot of good planning, a lot of getting the word out to the public, and it resulted in a very positive way. So my long story short, I want to make sure we're focused on that code enforcement. That's going to be something that I think can help turn things around. I want to be focused on the cost recovery. I think the strategy for the new cars, I think Mr. Burns is correct. Sometimes we don't need the trucks. Of course, we need it for the guys out in the field doing the inspections, but I think a lot of them can be regular cars and not the trucks. We have the liftgate one. So I think we're okay there. Just relook at that. But I would agree. I do see his car parked once in a while. I do have a good chuckle trying to figure out what year, 1980, did they buy that truck? By the looks of it. But overall, I mean, I like that our guys and our crews out there can be proud of the work they're doing. I do want to thank you, City Manager, because I don't think I know where we came in our budget and the presentations in the past compared to where we're at now. If there needs to be more detail, I think we should have that conversation, answer any of those questions. Again, as I heard about the TOT and some of the other issues, so that we're all clear, so we can all let the community know the same message, instead of like, well, we're not doing anything. No, we are. We're doing a lot of things here, but let's get that message out.
So real quick, I want to address Councilmember Burns on the presentation for the utility tax. Do you want that as part of the budget, or can that just be a future educational item? Because I mean, I really just don't see how we would be able to get that in as part of the budget by getting the approval from the council to go on the ballot. Probably getting a firm that can help us educate the community and things that there's a lot that goes into getting a ballot measure passed.
If we defer this to the presidential election, my sense is we either pull the trigger now or we defer for about 2 years. And strategically, it makes a lot of sense. But if we were to do that, how much money are we potentially leaving on the table? And I don't know that you could even answer that question.
I can probably get a good estimate. Seaside brings in 2.4 million and they're close enough to us. So maybe probably 2.5 million.
So by deferring this, we would be potentially, and that's all predicated on an assumption that it passed.
Correct.
And that's a $5 million deferral. So understand how this may be late to the conversation, and I don't know what the timing is, but I think it would be helpful to maybe look and see if it's feasible. If it's not, the bottom line is if we've missed the deadline, we've missed it, and that's unfortunate, but we shouldn't miss it again.
Right.
And so, I'm open to other council members' thoughts on this. I just don't want to, I never want to leave money on the table if we don't have to. And there's a lot of assumptions there. I recognize that. So,
yeah, I mean, I would say I always like revenue. I mean, I come from the finance side of it. So any revenue we can. But I do know that the more you put on the ballot, the more confused the voters are, and the more likely they are to vote no. Mayor kind of brought it too. The current election that's coming up is usually low turnout. You need a good turnout for people to vote yes on these items. That's why we really haven't put that much effort into it, just knowing that where council was going. And knowing that we do need to put all our efforts into really educate people so that they make a good informed decision.
I understand. And so I'll defer to the rest of the council and their thoughts. I am adamant, though, that we absolutely push the TOT forward, moving forward. And I know that this council is going to change face in 6 or 8 months, potentially as well. And so, it's just one of those things, but I know Council or Vice Mayor Perez and I will be here. And so January 1, I want to start having that conversation about the TOT for sure.
Good. You just clarify that when you said move forward, you definitely wanted to move forward with it. I didn't know if that meant onto this ballot or not.
Yeah,
So
no, for the TOT.
I think it'll be real good
Right,
to educate everybody. on
Right.
those things.
So, but I'll defer on the utility tax. This is actually the first conversation I've heard about it. And so I'm not well enough
Yeah,
educated. to really-
and I will say a lot of communities have gone away from proposing it because it has just not been very popular.
I understand. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr.
Thank
Sanders.
you. So what items do we have on the ballot, or are we moving forward with the ballot for sure?
That will be on Monday's meeting, but you have a lot of items in the queue to voted on. And if those all go through, there's 3 or 4 items already on would be a local ballot item.
Do you remember what they are?
It's the rally, the
Term limits, biker rally.
And then the changing the mayor from a 2-year to a 4-year.
Okay.
And term limits.
Okay.
All
So
right.
there's 3. But let me think about it. So biker, like those things, I think they're important. I'm not going to say that they're not, but I'd rather leave another item on there that's going to ensure that we're generating revenue, that we bring in money. That's important. We can't hire more police officers. We can't do the biker rally. We can't staff, code enforcement if we don't have more revenue coming in. And obviously, like the mayor stated, it's not going to come in with residential. So I would rather swap something out and prioritize bringing in revenue than move forward without that, because I do think it's important. And I'm committed to ensuring that we educate the public, but I'd rather really see us getting one of the 2 on the ballot and swap it out with something that could wait. Does that make sense?
I mean, it makes sense. I just know that getting the consultant on board, I mean, when we did Measure W, to educate everybody on that, we started a year in advance. There's just so many puzzle pieces to put into into place to make sure that you are very successful. And even with that, the reason why we did measure W when we did was to be on a presidential election term. We brought it forward 2 years early just to make sure we were hitting the sweet spot for elections. And that's, I'm all about making sure that we are successful instead of, trying it and then trying it again, because that's when you start getting some even more voter fatigue of the city's just out to get money from the citizens. And that's why we really want those educated of what it does for everybody,
So
who's
there's the
paying for it.
TOT and the utility tax. So the TOT, we said we can wait until
Correct.
presidential. I think that, to me, that's the easiest one
Yeah,
to
that-
get passed because
the-
the citizens are not getting taxed.
I would agree with you fully, but knowing that, that was the assumptions last time and
But we're not-
it failed.
But we need to do something and we need to do it now. So that would be my position. I'd want to prioritize one of those two. And for me, it would be the TOT because it's easier because we're not taxing the citizens. And we can make that clear if we talk to the citizens and if we advertise that. And I'm not putting it just on the city. I think we all have a responsibility to have those conversations with them. I'd rather have something that's going to generate some revenue than something that's going to, whatever. I don't even want to get into the other things, but I would
Okay.
prioritize that than the other three things.
I could just quickly respond and the reality is it won't pass in this election. It just won't. And utility taxes, I can tell you right now, are very unpopular. And many communities that have that, actually there's communities that are trying to get rid of them. So you're seeing more of that. The TOT, we have potential, but it's going to have to be in a presidential election. And there's going to have to be some work to explain why it works. And so I would, if there's a movement on that, I would say definitely presidential. As I said to the gentleman, let's see your effort focused from the chamber to really get to that point. Our revenue, we have in sight. That is a success we've had by focusing finally on our gold mine that we've all known, and that's called the airport. That's the 1,500 acres zone for commercial industrial that will lead to more revenue, not only for ourselves, but for the county, our partners. This is where our focus needs to be stayed. We need to stay focused on that area. And that is one thing I did forget to bring up is the dollars we do need to do a good marketing campaign ourselves. We've talked about this before, to push for that area and to finish the plans that we need so that companies can come in, it's ready to go. We're seeing the success. We're looking at another facility coming in. That's revenue, lots of it. And the kind of revenue that the public gets excited about because it's not coming out of their pockets. So if we can stay focused here, I have no doubt that within 5 years, we could see an extra $5 to $6 million coming in sales tax revenue just by focusing in that area, much more than we'd get from utility taxes. So I think let's not lose focus on where we're at now.
Yeah, I would echo that. You got the technology park that's coming in at the corner of, or has been moving forward. I shouldn't say it's coming in yet. Still has some steps to go through. Bless you. That is a revenue generating project with hotels, restaurant and fuel station where our estimate of what the fuel would come in compared to other fuel stations that are that size, that would be a significant boost to our revenue.
And again, I'm being extremely conservative of 5 million. That area alone can change our community. This is why I keep asking the county to stay focused, stop chasing shiny objects when you have what you need right in your own backyard. All you have to do is turn on the sprinkler system to see it turn green. So we need to get to work on this. My God, we have flying cars being built here, people. I mean, come on. We have it all. This is where we need to be putting that focus. And that's where I want to see some allocation of dollars so we can hire a proper firm to promote the 1,500 acres here that, again, benefit both the city and the county and our residents so they can ride their bike a few miles to work rather than getting in that massive traffic jam right now on Highway 25. So let's stop making the same mistakes and keep our focus. So I'd like to see if we can get some dollars put away for that, an ad campaign for the next 2 years for the industrial area. Sir. Mr. Burns, do you have a comment?
Not in regards to what you said, but I just wanted to be clear with the city manager. I thought I heard at least a simple majority say that we did want to see the next iteration of the budget where it does have the 2 fire inspectors positions in there.
Yeah.
And again, I think there'd be a great opportunity to work with our new city attorney and law firm to talk about how they strive, knowing that they can never be budget neutral, but that should be the goal for that unit, and look at how fees can be adjusted. And we've talked online, and I think even in public, where we need to get that fee study up and running as well, so that we have the justification to charge those fees. Because first of all, why don't we? We should. And more importantly, if it pays for the service that will then prevent further expenditures of city resources, we'd be foolish not to do that. So.
Yeah, great. I was going to go through a few of them.
Okay, thanks. I just didn't want, I
Yeah, no,
know it's a little after the noon hour, and so, but also wanted to make sure that we had a good wrap up on this.
I will kind of, my understanding, we do have lunch for you, then it's sitting in the other room, so that might encourage everybody to also.
Let me ask that question then. Would the council rather take a break now or go through your presentation? I think, as Mr. Burns pointed out, you had some direction.
Yeah, I really, I just was going to
bring
recap a few things, and I mean, I'm about
then
maybe
we're good to
5
go?
to 10 minutes at the most.
Okay.
You know, we'll work on community feedback. That's, you know, our issue always has been our budget meetings. You kind of see, this is the community that has always shown up for our budgets. We've tried numerous different things. 1 or 2 people show up, and I think our biggest one was when we were talking about doing spay and neutering. They filled up a quarter of the building, and as soon as the council said, yeah, we want to fund spay and neutering, they left. So then we didn't have any more community. We'll figure out how to get people in here. As far as the long-term projects and looking forward, that's our capital improvement project budget. And we work on that, and that does the usually 3 to 5 years span. And then we look at possibly out to 10 years. We'll bring that usually in August for you, so that those are the items that we are looking forward and planning for correctly. So that's it. And that would help with the shovel ready. Fire prevention, like I said, I've heard the majority of that. And then we'll look, and then fire analysts and training, and somehow get some more community relationship with PD. We'll work on those code changes. I agree fully with the budget being, in fact, I actually in my notes put January, February, is just so that we definitely start sooner. Talked about taxes. And we'll look, I'll talk with staff about painting, or maybe that's something we can, we'll figure out what we can do. Because there has been talk in the past about actually having maintenance people that were actually janitors, or, and we might even kind of bring a package with that. Our janitorial costs are just getting too high for what they do. I'm here usually late at night. They come in and they're gone within, seems like 5 minutes. It's just where maybe we have I've got the yard coming in, fixing a toilet that was sticking wide open. And that's where the maintenance people could, being a maintenance person, janitor, they can fix it right there. So that I like your idea with the painter and that part. Camera is always a plus. We love cameras. IT, we're just making sure we have server space, but I've always wanted more cameras. They've been so successful in our crime. And then we'll look at the building, and then like I said, I've talked about an item coming on for Grant Rider, and definitely we'll look at cars versus trucks. And that's it. If anything else that council wants me to look at and bring forward, we'll definitely make these changes. Cost recovery was number one too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sir.
One thing I overlooked in my short list was, I know that under the current budget, we also have a line item for $50,000 per council member to deal with the traffic studies. And I'd actually like a broader access to that money for potential projects within council districts, because not every council district is going to require that traffic study. So it wouldn't, I'm not suggesting more money be earmarked, but have more options in lieu of simply traffic studies. And I'd be interested to hear, I believe, well, I don't remember which council member, but I believe one of the council members, the mayor, asked, what have we spent to date in
Right.
regards to those? Maybe I'd like to see that. And then I'd also like to look at a broader package for nonprofit organizations as well. Other places I'm familiar with, you might earmark, and I'm just picking numbers for simplicity of conversation here. Let me say you take $1 million and you say, we want to entertain partial donations or contributions to X amount of nonprofit organizations. And then, and I know that gets into some give and take and some tug of wars as well, but I would like to see where that could maybe lead to, because I mean, we already, earlier this year, we authorized, I want to say it was like $90,000 for the nonprofit to get launched and get operational. And I know they're coming back, or I presume they're coming back in September, but because there's a fentanyl crisis. And so I want to deal with that, but I want to look at a broader perspective of other options out there and see. And so I know that could be opening Pandora's box, and I'm prepared to go there.
Yeah, I would almost recommend for that is like when we do a goal setting meeting to get guidance. I know in the past we've gone through each council member. We had the conversation where maybe each council member gave so much, and then what if that's in conflict? And it kind of went back and forth where we just kind of stuck with our core. But I think that's a very long decision of what council would like.
Right. With due respect, I understand you and I disagree. I've been patient for 18 months up here, and that doesn't feel like a long time, but I promise you, when you're sitting on this end of the chair, it can be.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to let that time get away. And so for me, I would like to, and I'm only speaking for me. I'm not speaking for anybody else on this council, but at the end of the day, I know that we just recently gave $30,000 to Bulldog Boxing to finish their construction of their building as a nonprofit, because it seemed like the right thing to do. And so I want to have those opportunities, and I know they could still be one-offs, but I'd rather have a policy and a process in place and some structure if we could. So.
Okay. I understand. Okay.
And again, I'm only.
That's
speaking for
actually a
me.
little bit more than what we used to talk about.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
Thanks.
And
Ms.
then-
Morales?
Sorry, we can change it makes sense that now we're more traffic study to now speed humps and things like, because those do require some traffic studies.
Yes, Ms. Morales?
Yes, thank you. I also like to add an ombudsperson to deal with disputes related to any of the city departments. So if there's an issue with like code or anyone else, that it's not just the individual person that they're dealing with, that there's an independent trained person that knows how to deal with these issues, be able to address and facilitate navigating through city services to address that. And it goes to due process.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we have-
Mr. Miller, I was under the impression that, and maybe it was more limited to the community development community, but I was under the impression that was going to be one of the duties assigned to the new assistant city manager.
Correct. It was.
So I don't know
mean,
if-
But that's up to the
Right, no,
council. If
that-
That's,
Right.
I do know the development community probably would like that, just to have somebody that, or it's not even really, I shouldn't say the development community. It's more the smaller agencies, like if a restaurant, a new startup business comes down, what is all the processes? We really don't have somebody that can hold their hand.
Right.
But but that was what the assistant city manager was supposed to do.
That is, as I mentioned, is that all you have? Mentioned to HDA and Chamber. This is where we can use their help. Someone has a question here. Here's a direct connection to help you with that. So we're helping them create their business or moving forward. I think if you have a position that's just focused on that, you're going to find a person that's kind of playing tic-tac-toe quite a bit in their office because there's not going to be a lot to do. There will be phone calls, but not to fill your day every single day of the year. So I think assistant city manager, I absolutely agree with that. Or work with the chamber, we're going to continue to fund them, or HDA to help fill that gap. Because really, they're the ones that are going to help them find the location also. You got a business wants to open a restaurant or whatever else, they can help them bring that location. Here's the paperwork. Let's get this thing filled out. Sir, go ahead.
I also think that we're moving into a new era where we're going to have new department heads on board, and I would hope that those department heads would be the point of contact. And so, but I could, having been an ombudsman, I could actually support the idea of it as well conceptually, and see if there is a need for it, or right now I'm getting lit up by the development community, and so I do see a definite potential for that, and so maybe we do some sort of a I hate to use the word study, but I don't know, an analysis maybe to see where it is, to get there, because if there's a need, and I think I'd like to see that happen once our department heads are on board, though. And again, I think it was Councilmember Morales that brought up, we had this great vision of doing a retreat with all the department heads and council. And I don't know if that's in the budget or not, but if it's not, it needs to be, because I know it's taken us, well, we're not there yet. I'm going to be optimistic. Hopefully we'll be there within 24 months. But once we hit that, we need to do that. And so,
Correct.
and maybe that be part of the bigger conversation as well, because again, if problems shouldn't necessarily have to be solved at the council member level. And so oftentimes.
Correct. Yeah. And I think where it would help for, if you're getting it from the development community, it's getting another planner to help that community as a spokesperson. And if that's where you really are having the issues, that might be where you need, I mean, there's a shortcoming of staff, and they are trying to hire more planners. It's just not getting good quality individuals. But that's where, like I say, if you're having a problem more with the developed community, it's a planner position that needs to be out there helping them.
Well, and to a certain degree, I would agree, but I also think it speaks to our current state where we've got 4-leaf contract employees, and hopefully once we get a planning and development director on board, that person will be able to drive that ship and have those relationships. We're not that big. And frankly, we need to quit with all the red tape and start rolling out the red carpet. And so hopefully we can get it resolved to that, but I'm wide open to an abundance person if that's what it truly takes to bridge that gap. And again, it may be much broader than simply for the development community. It could be much larger. I mean, even with traffic studies and engineering, and some of the things that we're asked to do as council are very complicated, and they require a lot of research. And some of the things, I didn't know a thing about wastewater treatment plants until 3 months ago. And now I'm by no means an expert, but I certainly have an understanding when you flush a toilet, what happens a little bit better. And so they're huge, and you need to have that gap, to somebody to bridge that gap. So I'm going to be quiet now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Do we have any speaker cards?
Yes, the first speaker is Renee Wells.
Thank you, Mayor, council members, and city staff. My name is Renee Wells, and I'm the Executive Director of the Economic Development Corporation of San Benito County. I've lived in Hollister 22 plus years. I commuted to Menlo Park for 15 of those, and after retiring, volunteered, and got involved in my local community. My personal passion is aviation. So after pursuing a pilot's license in, in 2019, I accepted an appointment by Council Member Resendez to serve on the Hollister Airport Advisory Commission and learn everything I could about our airport, including the availability of commercial opportunities adjacent to the airport. I became executive director last August, right after the city council terminated its 5-year commitment with EDC effective this month. With 6 months remaining on the contract, however, I set out to prove that the EDC is an asset to the city, and I assure you that it is. Excuse me, I've had a sinus infection and I've got some sore throat. I believe it would cost the city much more than it paid the EDC to support citywide economic development needs. And the EDC has worked especially hard to meet and or exceed the terms of its original MOU with the city, including updating the county's 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy to ensure that all entities within Hollister and San Benito County can apply for federal funding. Serving as liaison for new expanding businesses, including collaborating with city manager and developers to bring the first Through the Fence business to the airport, and working with city officials and community leaders to resolve issues brought by local businesses or commercial developers. I've recommended programs to support downtown businesses using ARPA funding and notifying the city and local agencies about available grants, loans, and tax incentives, such as EPA funding to remove contaminated buildings at the airport, funding for downtown micro and small businesses, and leading the effort to obtain funding for the city county through the 13 region Community Economic Resiliency Fund. I've established a job fair and an internship program with the San Benito High School, I've been suggested programs to incentivize commercial developers to use local resources and support for new expanding businesses through sales tax reimbursements. With traffic being a top concern for our community, the key to resolving the issue is not to wait for roads to be fixed or expanded, but to create good paying jobs for locals, which will also increase revenue for the city. The EDC would like to continue to help the city meet goals and objectives, but it needs support to do so.
Go ahead and finish.
Therefore, thank you. Therefore, I respectfully ask that the council consider renewing its partnership with the EDC to continue to support economic viability for the city of Hollister. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for being with us all day today.
I'm sorry, I had lost
No
voice for a
problem.
while.
Thank
so-
you, Ms. Wells.
I drank too much water too, and it didn't help. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Valerie Eglund.
You sit there so long, you can hardly move when you get up, at least at my age. A couple of things. At the last city council meeting, I spoke in Zoom, and as usual, I got a little too verbose and filled my time trying to educate the council on what they probably already knew about the mailers from 2018 that the city supported along with the county and the community foundation. And so what I need to do is make a direct request to be put on the agenda at the next viable meeting. And I believe that's the 21st. The 6th, it's too late. Your agenda is already done. But so if I would be able to represent Reach San Benito Parks Foundation in presenting the mailer that we are have prepared and are ready to print and mail out to every resident in the county, then I'd appreciate that consideration. And so it was suggested that this is the budget committee or the budgeting sessions. And so to present that idea of reserving $7,580. I had mistakenly said $12,780 previously. And then I said, oh, well, nobody deducted the REACH contribution. So REACH is putting in 5, the county is putting in 5, and Community Foundation has put in 5. And the bulk of the doors is in in Hollister. So that's what kind of to think about the budget there. And if you would please put me on the agenda, I'll reiterate that. Second, just reflecting on what has been said, I wanted to, first of all, I have here a map that REACH kind of cut out and put together, which shows the ridge trail that circles the whole San Francisco Bay. And the future plan of that is to reach all the way down to Gavilan, and furthermore to the intersection that has the EIR has just been finished for at 25 and 101. So that is going to reconfigure that intersection. And so it will have bicycle paths off and on street over that intersection. And it will go along the Pajaro River in the future and on over through like, anyway.
Go ahead and finish.
So it will, what I'm trying to say is that this bottom section shows that Hollister bike maps, the county bike maps, and the trails there that can connect up to the flow of bicycle connectivity from the Santa Clara County and add to our tourism and our own economic development. There's a group from OTC, Off the Chain Bikes, that record all of their cycling adventures on Strava, and Strava shows all the same pathways that there are here. But there's also a continuous request on how does anybody know a better way to get from Hollister to Gilroy? I've gone on this route and I've gone on that route, and how can we get there?
Right.
So I'd like to just leave that with you for general
Thank you.
information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And that would be kind of like a cost recovery effort.
Thank you.
There are no more speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have no other.
Sorry, there's a hand that just popped up.
Okay. On Zoom, we have James. We will unmute you.
Let's see, can you hear me now?
We can.
Fantastic. So heavy is the head that wears the crown. And I think you guys as a city council and mayor and city manager have been doing a fantastic job from all of the observations that I have. And by the way of introduction, my name is James Warmkessel, and I am the head of operations and the head of flight at Zero Avia. And as you guys may or may not remember, you guys recently, as a city council, passed an agreement that allowed us to have a through the fence agreement. And in addition to that, the city manager has worked closely with us and our team to get us our temporary occupancy permit into the new hangar. And I wanted to come back and give you guys some feedback that because of the good work that not only you and the city and all of the other people that we've worked with, including the economic advisory corporation have, we're going to be opening 25 new job recs at our facility here in Hollister. And I thought that it might be nice to have someone come back and say thank you for the hard work that all of you guys have done. And I want you to see a direct impact of that. We've only been had these agreements in place for less than 30 days, and there's already positive impact at Hollister. And I thought that it would be worth sharing for you guys. And that's really all I have.
Well, thank you, sir, for the update. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Go ahead, Mr. Byrne.
Mayor, I would like to query the council on their will to bring back at the second meeting in June, the conversation for Ms. Eglund.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm just wondering if that's something that you can do on an administrative level. That she's asking for $7,000 for the mailers, or do we have to bring that back to the council? That was what I was wondering. I'm all in support of it, but I was wondering if you can do that administratively, or if that's something that has to come before the council.
Yeah, I have the ability to do that. It's just usually that I would more like, because it's a donation to another nonprofit organization, just kind of have council's consensus.
Sure. And I would imagine, Mr. Mayor, that everybody would be in support, and I would just suggest putting on a consent agenda,
Yeah.
if that's okay.
Sure.
Anything else? All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Reluctantly, yes.
What's that? Reluctantly, yes. You can stay, sir.